I'm like, man, Rollo Tomassi don't get no hoes, man. Who, like, come on, man, like, who gave Rollo Tomassi this God tier status? Like, Rollo Tomassi don't get no hoes, man. Like, show me some hoes Rollo Tomassi pulled, you know what I'm saying? Show, like, really, like, y'all acting like he really popping, pushing P, like, y'all acting like he came out the womb saying P.
That's becoming one of my favorite intros, by the way. I'm like an internet master of judo and jujitsu. You come at me, I use your energy against you. Today's going to be a lot of fun. I have Rian Stone with me today. Just heads up, you know. Tune out now. We're going to be talking about stop licking the ice cream, man. You're all licking the ice cream. What does that mean? Well, we're going to find out in a minute here. Oh, boy. This is the part of the show where I have to click back over to echo cancellation. Mm-hmm.
We're at an ice cream shop. All you and I want is our own ice cream cone. We go to the store first thing in the morning. We're waiting in line. And there's a guy who beat us to it. The guy pulls up to the counter. What flavor is that? Oh, that's vanilla. Takes his hand. Not bad. What flavor is that? Oh, that's salted caramel. You still want that salted caramel? After that man done put his hands all over and messed it up and damaged that ice cream?
Then he wiped his hands.
Didn't even wipe his hands.
Still got residue from the salted caramel on the orange sherbet.
This is what the successful guys do that we need to call out. Stop going around and damaging the ones that people actually want. What that is symbolic of, which is why promiscuity is frowned upon, is some of these guys go out and damage.
Are you damaging women, Ryan? Oh, wait, unmute yourself before
it was
you.
Funny when Pat Stedman said it. Oh my God! There, I'll save you guys the 4 hours we're on here. Here's what it is: if you want to win, start trying. If you don't want to win, stop bitching about the winners. Get this nonsense off of here. Where did you find this? Incels are us.
Oh yeah.
Finish him.
She was mine, dude. That's like, remember when you were like 14 and you had the crush on the girl, but you were awkward, but your buddy got all the tail and you're like, man, I got such a crush on her. And then he had sex with her and then he came back and told you about it. And you were so mad at him.
Yeah.
And then he just told you, like, man, you got to learn this sometime. That's that, but for like a 40-year-old man. What the hell?
That's the theme. By the way, if anybody doesn't know, this is Rian Stone. Hey, Ryan, how are you? Thank you for joining me again today. We had such a good show yesterday on Rule Zero on Paul Benjamin's channel that I decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to bring this really boring guy on my show.
We're going to talk about programming and fine art. Let's go.
Yeah. Artistry time.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Where do you find these things?
They find me. They find me now. This finds me. I don't go hunting for this shit. It finds me, you know. Or I should say, like, guys, give this stuff. Man, do you know who I am?
No, it's never come up before, to be honest.
Yes, I'm on. I think somebody sent this to me on Instagram just recently, and like I get these all the time. And by the way, yes, you can stop sending me that video of that 40-year-old girl, or I forget who she is. She like just is about to turn 40, and she's like, and it's not Lolo Jones, it's another one. She's like, oh, I'm gonna freeze my eggs. I'm like, I seen it. Do you not think that I would have like 1,000 people haven't sent this to me already? What gets me is when I get videos, like old videos, like that I've seen in the past, like 2018, and people go, hey man, check this out. You should do a show on this. Like I did with Pat Campbell back in 2018.
Jeez, man. You guys got to get with the times. Come on. Yeah. Work with us.
So this one came up, and I keep seeing this all the time, and you and I have probably covered this at some point, but This is the by the way, you're right. This is the plot template for like all those bad 80s teen movies, like Pretty in Pink and 16 Candles and and maybe not The Breakfast Club. That was a good one. But like, The Last American Virgin. What was who was the director that did all of, yeah, John Hughes. Any John Hughes movie relies on let me see what the taste of what the ice cream is.
It's
exactly what you said.
I just remember this. Like, it's not new. I remember Pat Stedman. If you guys don't know Pat Stedman was this pickup artist who tried to make his career off of A, slandering Rollo, and B, storming the Capitol on January 6th. Huge fan. But this was like his started this thing. Other guys started this thing. It was always about like everybody else is wrecking our women or they're licking the ice cream. You know what? Like, women are objects. I'm like, aren't we supposed to be the misogynists that objectify women?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they're like, no, there's some inanimate object. They didn't want to sleep with you, but they did because you're so sneaky with your little tricks and your millions and your Lamborghinis. It's
you
like,
figured it out. Hack the code.
Yeah, if you're gonna white knight, can you at least try to pretend that women are people? Like, I'll go with it. Try it. You might like it.
When I see stuff like this, and again, this comes back to something I talked about before. I've written it. Imagine that there's an essay for this.
Oh, good.
A very old one, actually. Well, maybe 2017, 2018. I wrote an essay called "Little Big Head," and I think I've actually read it on this show a couple times. But essentially, what it is you've probably heard this before. Is stop thinking with the little head and start thinking with the big head, right? Like try to have ethical game. Try not to.
I love it. Nobody ever follows through on what the hell that even means.
Yeah,
such an empty phrase.
You mean ethical game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's supposed to mean something. I don't know what it means.
What do you think it means? What do you think it means?
Oh, I think it means whenever I get what I want, then it's good. If I don't get what I want, it's bad. But I'm not willing to make the slightest effort to do it. You need to do it for me because I'm a 6-year-old man child.
Hold my hand.
Yeah. Stop hitting your sister. Oh, she hit me first. It's like, really? You're a grown man. And it has a white suit. Those suits don't come cheap.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get in.
You should know better.
We're going to dig into a few other ones. Hafiz did an interview with Alpha Male Strategies, who I really like. And we'll talk about that later. This is actually not from that interview. It's another guy. But I think it's what's interesting to me is like the guy who Hafiz used to be. Like almost like this time last year, as a matter of fact, I've got clips. I'm not going to go dig too far into them, but there's fresh and fit clips where they've had the roommates were on. Well, at least Hafiz was on. I know that, and he stuck around for the after hours show, and that Hafiz is not this Hafiz whatsoever. And I think right around like August or September of last year. Right around the whole dust up with Abba and Preach, and boy, did the cards fall out on that one. But even after that,
right.
That's when everybody who decided to dip their toes into the red pill in 2021. That's when they go, wait a minute, I've never been red pill. I don't know who these guys are, who are fresh and who,
Such a magical time.
Well, it was, and I tell you what's funny is like, especially now when you go into, don't do this really. Don't go look up what milking is, but look up Abba and Preach and milking. But I didn't tell you to do that, but you can go see where that goes. Very similar to another fat kid in Brazil who was telling on himself about let's just say man boys or whatever he's out into. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Or girl boys. What is it?
It's hard to think him being publicly drunk hitting on a homeless man.
I was trying to think of the British term.
Oh yeah, the cigarettes.
Yeah.
The bundle of sticks.
Interesting, man. You wait out long. You just wait people out long enough and you will see the mediocre come out of everybody.
It's kind of embarrassing for like you and me because you're a normal person. You do normal things. You have a wife, you have a kid that loves you, and you have friends and dogs. And then you see your peer group. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Why do I have to be here with this guy and this guy?
That
dude in the suit bitching about women.
Maybe you know this or not. I was 3 weeks ago, I was in South Dakota, and I went to go hang out with Aaron Clary for about a day and a half. And it was good. It was fun. It was good to sort of like be normal, right? Like where you'll notice that there's like maybe 2 pictures we took the whole time and put them up on Instagram because we're trying to like go there and like be like normal people, like minus the manosphere kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for the clarification there, Anya.
Some of the cleverest use of emojis I've seen in a live stream, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
But
Yeah, it's weird. You notice how a
good.
lot of people do that though? Their social thing is like, I wonder how this will look for the gram, and you're just going like, can we have a human conversation?
Yeah, can I talk to the man instead of the brand, please? You know, and Aaron's always like that. Aaron is like just Aaron. He's not brand at all whatsoever. There's no pretense with Aaron. That's what I like about him. So
Yeah.
And I was just I was just in Lake Tahoe with Jason Hartman. That was a good experience. We took the wave runners out and had some fun. I will be in Connecticut. Actually, as soon as I'm done with this show, I got to go pack my bags once again. Flying out to Hartford, and I'm going to go hang out with the Savo brothers. I am going to be doing the video work for my very first class that I've ever done, like an online class. It's a learning experience for me. But if you have book 5, you'll know that in the very introduction of it, I mentioned that I'm going to be doing some sort of like classes. There's classwork that go along. I kind of want the 5th book to sort of be like a textbook, was my intent. I think Troy picked up on that too. He said it was really good. So,
Nice.
So I am going to be doing some class work. I don't know exactly how I'm going to release it just yet, but I will be doing some video that will be sort of on-demand video. I think that corresponds with sections in the book, so that's coming up as well. That's actually why I'm going out there. And then in another week, let's see, the 21st to the 28th, I'll be in Lake Tahoe with Justin Waller, and just be myself and him. So we'll probably be doing some live streams and some stuff coming up for that too as well.
Nice and busy.
Yeah,
I wonder if you're ever going to retire. Like, is in 20 years, are you going to still be? Yeah, I got 3 flights this week.
Yeah, I did
Or
catch the
eventually-
beer bug a long time. I caught the beer bug back in I think it was mid-July is when when I came down with the big C with the clap. I got the clap in the middle of July.
Come on, it's just starting the rumors. Come on.
Yeah.
People, there's a cadre of guys in here just waiting to run with it to build their 21
How
convention.
many people
brands.
even know what the clap is anymore right now? Like, what does that even mean to people anymore? Maybe they do. Maybe there's guys that understand.
I don't know. I heard that
Big
pubic
C.
lice is extinct now because everybody shaves. So that's definitely something that's new.
Nobody has crabs. That's a big C.
Mm.
So I wanted to start this off because I hear this all the time. I think this is probably one of the number one sort of it's a hot take, I guess, right now, which is high value guys are ruining women for really good quality guys who are just looking to settle down with a little lady and have babies and have some good traditional. They're going to save the West, and we could save the West, Ryan, if it weren't for these scoundrels, if these scallywags weren't picking up on our women and just ruining them for us.
Yeah, I wish you see married guys do this too, all the time when they're like, "Oh, she cheated on me, but this guy's such trash. He's no better than me." And I'm like, "Really? If he's that crappy, how did she choose him over you?" And a lot of guys don't ask that question. I think that's the issue, isn't it? All the brands catering to this self-serving secret king gamma male fantasy that I'm special and great and just nobody knows it yet. And if it wasn't for that guy and all of his stupid jerk manipulations, you'd see me as the great guy.
Right. I think one of the reasons why this is such a kind of I guess it's a popular sort of comeback or popular form of hate right now for the manosphere is because I think there's a lot of guys that can relate to this, and they can
30% of guys by last I checked.
Well, yeah, 80. We'll talk about that a little bit later on when I get to some of these other clips. So we'll sort of sift through. But I think it's popular because there's enough guys out there who you and I have been doing this a long time. So I want to tell you where I think things are going. Okay.
Oh boy.
There's guys like us. Okay. We've been in the manosphere for a very long time. I've been doing this for close to 20 years. I don't know how long. When did I meet you? 2015, 2014 on the
14,
Reddit?
15-ish. Yeah. Around there.
Something like that. So you've been around for a while. Aaron's been
that's
around.
8 years. Jesus.
Aaron's been around since the 1950s. Here's the red pill. Oh, I'm 30 years too early. And so there's a lot of guys, especially in the Rule Zero collective, let's just say, and just a lot of even the guys who I think of as sort of newbies to Rule Zero have been in the sphere for a while now.
Yeah.
And so
been around.
one of the things I see happening, and I think maybe this sort of started March of 2021 when I was on Fresh and Fit, and they asked me like, "Do you think that the red pill is going to go mainstream?" And now the first thing out of my mouth was, "I hope not." And you know what? Here we are, and this is why I hoped not.
Yeah.
Exactly where we're at right now. And I don't know if you caught my interview with Jedediah Bila on Valuetainment, or the one that I did with Arusa.
I tried. Like, I know your side, but his side, I was just like, oh.
That's okay. I understand you. But you know what's funny is I can't get... It's hard for me to go to my peer group and say, "Hey, check this 2-hour video I did," and you're like, "I've seen all this so many times before." It's like, for everybody else, it's new, but like for us, it's kind of like, God, can I watch this on 3 times speed? But a lot of the same rationale is coming out. I think of the guys who want to sort of dip their toes into the manosphere right now. And now you got guys like Hafiz, guys like Ruslan, guys like, I'm trying to think who else, like guys who wanted to be a part of this back in 2021 they're still a part of it. But now they're anti-red pill, or they're be careful of this stuff. We got to make it ethical. We got to make the red pill sanitized. We've got to find just the things that are good about it and emphasize those things because they fit into our like little ideological framework. And we'll go with those. While at the same time we'll go share it, or was it women or men should not, high-powered men should not be able to cheat. Well, how dare you? Think about those.
Didn't Elliot Rodger do that with Pickup?
Yeah. Yes.
I hope one of these guys aren't going to pull like a Roman McClay 2 Electric Boogaloo. That'll be a little scary.
I've got my eye on a few that might do that actually at some point. But yeah, so when I see stuff like this, I'm gonna lick the ice cream, right? And then you're polluting the ice cream. And I think what's funny is Hafiz is kind of making the case for guys who are saying, "I don't want to get with a woman who's run through." Right. I get this all the time. You probably do too. It's like when I'm counseling guys and they're like, "Rolo, in 2 to 4 years, I want to be married. I want to have kids. I want to settle down, but I don't want one of these ratchet girls I see on Fresh and Fit. I don't want to get with one of these 18 to 19, 20-year-old girls who are just so they're not going to go out with this guy because they're not ready. They're still like in their hoe phase, right?
They don't want to pay full price for used goods. Like, I get the sentiment.
But also they don't want to get with a woman who's like in her epiphany phase. They don't want to get with the 29, 30, 31-year-old woman who is sort of on her cycling out of the sexual marketplace. And then, of course, the most common frustration these guys have is like, I can't find a thin woman. I can't find any girl that's like attractive, arousing, hot and feminine. And I mean, think about that. This is now the highest standard, is finding a woman who's available, finding one who's thin and sexy, finding one who's feminine, finding one who wants kids, finding one who doesn't already have kids, and finding one who's not been sort of jaded by the system or has gone through, like, say, college and turned into Lena Dunham, right?
Yeah.
So I hate, and it becomes a more taller and taller order as sort of life goes on, I guess. Now, you could sort of take the John MLD route and say, well, that's just in the United States. But I would say it's spreading, slowly like, cancer across the world as the sexual marketplace sort of globalizes. But that's hard. It's hard for me to advise these guys because they can't find anything. Especially, and the older they get, the harder it becomes to like find someone that's, of that caliber who meets those criteria right now. And that's really, I think, really tough for them. But what happens is when you get a guy like Hafiz or you get a guy like Ruslan who want to say, well, shouldn't we be promoting marriage? Shouldn't we be promoting healthy relationships and get the fertility rate up and save the West with marriage and babies, right? And I can only say it in so many different ways about how there's a difference between sort of contractual marriage and covenantal marriage, or like the kind of the way we used to do marriage versus the way we do marriage right now. Right. Now here's the thing. Okay, good observation. No, you won't find them there either, Genesis, because now we've got single mommy ministries and single mommy evangelical Christian conventions that are dedicated to single mothers.
Yeah, who goes to church? People who need redemption and forgiveness. Who needs that?
Right.
Single moms.
And the other thing
Church wanted them because they're like, this fills the pews and this gets the tithes because the guys just stopped showing up.
She's correct in one way, though. There are more women in church than there are men in church because the church has become actively hostile to anything that's conventional.
There's more men in prison too, though. So what?
Yeah, there's more men in prison.
You know what? There's so many things about this, and I hate it because there's a real sentiment. I get it. You don't want a chick that's run through, but you never really think, like, what does run through mean? And you did it yourself in your essay.
This is run through.
Yeah, and you always have to use like convoluted metaphors in that. All they want is that they're with a girl who's going to be loyal and sexually enthusiastic. That's essentially it. Don't have to worry about if it's going to be your kids or not. I think those are like the three things everybody can agree on. Now, if you get, how many cases have we seen where there's like some guy married a virgin, she has fear of missing out, divorces him, goes off and does her thing because she's never had it? Probably a few, quite a few. But you tell that to a guy, it's like, hey, do you want your waifu virgin, but she doesn't have any of those underlying traits that you're actually looking for? Or would you get a girl that's got like a notch count of 20, but she's loyal as hell to you and sexually enthusiastic? Most guys will take the first one because they're not thinking, what do I want? They're just picking these marketing markers that people told them because they can buy Gumroad courses if you just believe. Like, I can get you your, what is that? What does Rich call it? Thin, virgin, unicorn, debt-free, no tattoos.
Right.
Like a shop, like you're shopping at Amazon.
A girl from the Amish Dutch country in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and I don't want to feel bad for these guys. I do, but there's information out there on how to get girls to want to be with you to the point that you can start having expectations and they meet them, and things you can do once you have them to keep it going strong. And they ignore all of it because they're watching some dude in a suit bitching about ice cream, making you feel good about your shitty life. I just can't feel bad. It's like, stop sulking. The stuff's out there. You just have to put in a little bit of work. Right. And I'm not even saying do the work. I'm just saying, like, there is work to do. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Okay. And I'll tell you what the most, I think it's almost more valuable for guys at the, like the guys that I work with right now, when I first start out with like analyzing. I'm not a counselor. I think of myself as an analyst. Like, here's what I see going on in your life right now. Like, here, if you hand me if you hand Aaron Clary your 1099s or whatever, he's going to like be the CPA, right? He's going to be the guy that sort of gives you the accounting of like here's where your money's going and everything. I'm kind of the same way about when I talk to guys who want to talk to me about doing their counseling. So I kind of analyze things. But one of the first things part of my first analysis is I'll go to the female delusion calculator, and then I'll go to the male delusion calculator, which is there. It's the first one's like igotstandardsbro.com. I think that's the female one, and then there's another one. I can't remember what the URL is for the male delusion calculator, but I'll have them do that because I'll say, okay, what kind of girl are you looking for? Blah, blah, blah. We'll type in all the specifics. Is she fat? Is she overweight? Is she not? Is she thin? I mean, no guy's going to say, well, I think I really want a fat chick. I'd be okay with that. Right. Every guy wants, so that right there is going to knock down like 75% of your returns automatically, at least in the United States. And these are not like, every time I look at these like the criteria that you like type in for the delusion calculators, this is not like really highly specific, wants. It's not like, okay, I need a girl who's like, she's got to be Orthodox Christian from Estonia, and she's got to be, a body fat percentage of 7%, whatever it is. It's not very. It's all based on sort of like, what is it, CDC information and U.S. Census Bureau information, right? And just the basic criteria, you go through that, and most of these guys are looking for a woman who is anywhere. Like I found, like the largest demographic was like 12%. All the way down to like, a fraction of 1%, depending on what it is.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
exactly. And remember, it's an age range and everything else. And so what I usually do is I'll say, okay, what are your standards, right? And we'll go in there and we'll look at that. I say, okay, well, 12% of the U.S. population fits that bill. And then it'll even break it down by like there are, 10 million, or I don't know how many million women that are like you that meet your standards in the United States. Great. Then what we do is we go on to the male delusion calculator, and rather than, the opposite way, the vice versa. And so then we'll go to the female. So what would women be looking for, and where do you fit in as a guy, percentage-wise in the U.S. population, and how rare an animal are you, right? I did the same thing with Adam Sosnick back in February when I was on PBD podcast, and I said, let's go put Adam's stats in. Okay. So we put all that in there, and I've done this for myself. You've probably done it. It's fun. It's like, it's a goof. And when it first came out, we thought it was
You
great.
just want to make sure you're in the top 20%. That's all you care about.
And now I'm looking exactly. And now I am looking at this as like a real tool for like waking guys up and showing like empirical data as to how rare you actually are. So I'll work with these guys. It's I got standardsbro.com, and then there's another one. Oh, realitycalc.com is the male reality calculator. And so when I go and I type all this stuff in there, I say, okay, you are 5'11", right? The average height of a guy in the United States is about 5'9" right now. So there's that. Then are you obese? Are you fat? Are you, how much money do you make? Because that's a criteria women have. They don't want to date a guy who's broke, right? So you got to put that in there, and the whole thing, like, and then by ethnicity and everything else, we put that in there. And like most of the guys that I work with are like a fraction of 1%. Like they are below 1% of the population. And what gets me is every single time I do this, guys are like, really? That's because they have this mentality that they are just common. Like they are just like, because we have this, certainly in the US, but like I think probably in Western nations, we have this idea that women are just so valuable. And especially when they're like 22, 23, 24 years old, they have so much power. She's on OnlyFans and she looks so good and she's all this and everything. And she is a very small percentage of what you're actually going to meet out in the wild.
Yeah.
And you are a much more rare animal. Most of the time, you're a much more rare animal than you think you are. Especially if you're finding this community and that you want to do sort of male self-improvement. I think that's where most guys need to start. Like before you even call me, go and look at how many guys are like you in the world, and that will help you sort of put yourself into perspective.
The one thing that gets me about it though, there's an intangible in there. Remember how how many episodes do we have of like looks, money, or game? Which one's better? Like game one. But the one thing these things don't have is like, how socially savvy are you? If you had to run like a minute of stand up on stage, could you do it? Like, something like that tangible that says to talk to you, you can get an emotional high out of a girl. And I would argue, you're like, you're like a top 1% man. And he's probably still thinking like, well, then why am I not getting girls? And I would say, are you able to talk your way out of a paper bag? Are you able to talk your way into a girl's pants? It's one of those intangibles. You can have everything else. You can be a top 1% man. And if you're missing that, who cares?
Yeah. I was going to,
that's what I love. Cause it's like that 427 point bullet list. I think was what Royce called it.
From Royce. Yeah.
And like how many times you got to watch like an RSD Owen thing? What's he, like a fat, bald redhead? Meanwhile, silver tongue talks his way, gets a set, and he's great.
Yeah. I have met Owen, and I'm like, I met him on this. He came into the Fresh and Fit show.
Really?
And I met him. Gosh, it was this year. It was actually. Yeah. And I didn't realize he was going to be there. He is a friend of Casey's, who was Fresh's like roommate for a while. Oh, cool. And he came on the set like the last half hour of my show. I think it was like either January or February this year. And I get it. I get it. After listening to him and just sort of having him go on, and it's just like, yeah, he's definitely on the spectrum. And probably, to his credit, has had to find ways to sort of like find ways around that, I guess. Like, it's
that's kind of how pickup worked. It was like literally A/B testing.
And I mean that in a nicest possible way. He's a good dude. Don't get me wrong, but like, I can see how he would have had a problem back in like say 2005 when the game came out, or even before that when he was like in Venusian Arts and Mystery Method and all that stuff back in the early days.
Classic.
He definitely had a handicap he had to overcome. Yeah.
But those are the best guys to learn from, because they literally have to learn it brick by brick, like piece by piece.
Yep.
But that's you've said it yourself. You had like remember I keep asking about like the rise in autism, and you keep sending me the charts based on the age of the mother, SSRI use, all these different things. And I'm starting to think like that might be the biggest issue, more so than obesity, more so than like economic factors, just guys' inability to engage a girl on like a limbic level. And I know it sounds like wishy-washy. It's like, no, I should be working out, but again, you keep seeing like, and this is the answer that resonates with guys. You can't tell me that's social. Yeah, he talks about ice cream and girls being run through. It's like, nobody wants a slut, but you'll never know if she is. And the girls that look the nicest are the ones that are the sluttiest. It's not my fault they know how to reseal the ice cream.
Well, that's
so but then all they're saying I want the branding good girl, not a real good girl. I want one that wears the sun hat, wears the summer dress, who only goes out of town to get her strange, so it never has to come back to me. It's like, I just don't want to know. And I think that's what the ice cream reference is. It's kind of scary to me.
Well, okay, so here's what I get is a lot of the reason I was talking about like qualifying yourself, like finding out like how rare an animal you really are in the sexual marketplace. The reason why that kind of wakes guys up is for the most part they've been told that they're worthless, at least in the sexual marketplace. Like you're never going to get this chick because you're not hot enough to get that guy. You're not Justin Waller, you're not Andrew Tate, you're not like the apex alpha dude who can just like walk into a restaurant and girls give him her number, right? I mean literally giving them their numbers, but like they open him, right? And so when guys see that, they go, oh, I could never get that. I could never get with that. I could never do this. I could never do that. And so you think of women as like sort of like this unattainable goal. And it's usually false because they don't have any sort of like empirical data to sort of like weigh it against. That's why
they just get people selling them Gumroad courses telling them, and they're obviously stoking their fear and insecurity.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the most common forms of hate that I get, which is, oh, you're just pandering to these guys because they're in a real emotional distress.
Yes, that's how I would refer to Rollo as pandering.
Yeah, exactly. You're making.
Have you seen how much hate this man gets?
You're selling books because you want to make money off of these. I'm like, do you know how much money I make versus how much like Andrew Tate makes? I'm the least of the world. I'm low hanging fruit at sometimes because it's like they want to come at me because they know they can't go at somebody like Tate. They can't go at somebody who's got like a Gumroad course where they're doing stuff, and they might once in a while try to call them out, but it's usually like higher level guys that are doing that. Most guys aren't going to do that. They'll come after me.
Mostly me. Let's cut to the chase. It's mostly me.
It's mostly you. Yeah. Everybody hates Ryan. I don't understand why. I really don't understand.
I know. Pandering is my middle name.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to my wife this morning and I go, I'm going to have Ryan on. And she's like, oh, cool. That's, because I always tell her, hey, we have a good conversation. It's, it's a meeting of the mind. I like one of the things I also like, by the way, about when it's just like me, Myron, and Fresh, or it's just me and Myron on a show. It's like we click, we like connect. He has an idea, he throws it at me, and that like triggers something. I'm like, oh man, and I think of new shit when I'm like on Fresh and Fit with Myron because there's no minus any girls, minus any pretense, minus any bullshit distractions. It's great to be able to do like really serious, hard hitting stuff. Like when we did the I'm not going to say the forced sexual copulation culture show was really good because we did a lot of work on that. And of course, again, nobody remembers that whatsoever, but we've done so much good work, I think, but nobody goes back to those things. They just want to talk about what the next scandal is because it's just red meat. It's you call it gladiator.
Yeah, whatever. It's whatever. Honestly, the part I like the best is that if I'm bullshitting myself, like, you will disagree with me. There's no yes man crap here. Like, either one of us can actually do that and hold each other account. If we disagree, we'll say something we disagree about. Maybe we just agree to disagree and we just kind of let it go. And even your chat, they're like desperate to not you guys, but like older chats, desperate to find that as being some kind of fight. Oh, Ryan just said hypergamy doesn't matter. Oh, well, this is it now. And they're on Twitter like, oh, Ryan and Rollo breaking up. Like, welcome to normal guys, man. You're allowed to disagree on things.
Me and Troy are cool. Me and Sterling are cool. Me and pretty much everybody are. And me and Rich are cool. Like just because he's doing his own thing doesn't mean like we're like, oh, come on, I'm gonna fuck this guy. That's what they want.
And that's what gets me, because there's like, there's real things here. There's real effort. There's experience. There's like education. There's rigor. There's research, and it's not it's not as interesting as chicks on Instagram saying Fresh knocked me up or whatever the hell they're ranting about. But like, what do you want out of life? Do you just want to sit here and seethe because the dudes are licking ice cream? Or do you want to be the guy with all these Fresh Dubs ice cream? In order to steal a really stupid metaphor.
Yeah. Well, it's because we live in the 30-second soundbite era. Like, it's too, it's the too long didn't read era where it's like, nobody got time for that. Nobody's got time for a 4-hour podcast. That's
and I get it. Demographic too. Zoomers. How old are Zoomers? Are like 85 to 2000, right? That's their, or 95 to 2000, whatever.
I'd have to look it up.
So like the youngest Zoomers are now 21-ish. So I get why like getting laid is now the biggest thing, because as a marketing demographic, it's huge. Same as the incels, that 30% incels. What are they doing? They're on YouTube. So that's why there's like a nonstop effort to like tell them about how it's all women's fault and you're great. They used to do this shit to women, man. Remember that? I can make you look young forever. You're really ugly, but you know, our makeup products will fix you. And it worked great in the 60s. Now there's grown men doing it.
To
How
each
far
other.
we've fallen, man.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. You know what you know why I think you're so necessary to the Tates? I'm gonna tell you,
You know what?
Because they like you've been
Get comfortable for this.
Because and you know everybody that I hang out with, and like I'm going from place to place with a few exceptions. Like Kevin likes you, right? But like I'm like they're like, oh, he's kind of boring, whatever. Blah. I'm like, but I don't care. I want to have a good conversation with you. But like I think one of the reasons why you are so necessary to the Tates is because of this, right? Now, do you know what a doomsayer is?
Oh,
You're
yes.
a doomsayer. You are a doomsayer for okay, so like a doomsayer was like the Caesars of the Roman Empire, right? Like the emperors had to have a doomsayer, and I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was like something like they had to, like the Senate had to have there, or maybe one of them like had a doomsayer, and they kept the tradition going. But there's always a guy that's right next to the emperor going, "You suck. Fuck you. You're not that good."
Yeah.
And like you're gonna, oh, it was memento mori, right? That's where that phrase comes from, because that's what the doomsayers would say. So Caesar comes back from conquering, you know, Germania and the Gauls, or you know, whatever, comes back, put the laurel on his head, and he goes into procession and has a big old parade down, you know, the Appian Way. I don't know, you know, goes down. Oh, that's Greece. Sorry,
I've learned so much about Rome. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. We have parading through Rome, and then right behind him is the doomsayer going, "You're gonna die." Yeah. Maybe the court jester, I guess, is one of those. But there had to be somebody who like sort of checked the ego of the high value dude, and I think that's what you are, the Tate's doomsayer. You are absolutely necessary, my friend.
I think you give me much too much credit, but thank you very much.
Exactly. This is what they need to hear. You are just a man. All right, but,
everybody is. That's the part that gets me, man. Like
all
I'm
men
average.
are equal when their memory fades.
Yeah, average height, average intelligence, average whatever, average this, and like I carved out quite a few notches, so like it shouldn't be that hard.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I see guys struggling, dude, there's like 6'2" guys, jacked with money, struggling with women. I'm like, fuck you. Really? Really?
Yep.
I would have killed for any of those things. I had to get by on just talking real good.
I mean, because they're looking for that unicorn. They're looking for the girl who's like the virgin. They're looking for the girl who's like, you know, not that hasn't been licked ice cream.
Yeah, they're looking for it, but they're not trying to work for it. And that's what gets me. It's like that was half the fun. Just getting a notch, just sleeping with a girl, that's okay, but it gets boring real fast. But, you know, practicing something, starting off by dropping at something that you would never expect somebody to throw a drink in your face, and then ends up they come and sleep with you. It's like those things are fun.
Hey, Sammy,
the life of the party is fun.
I got Sam Botta, and he's my only mod right now. Sam, put that link to the fresh. It's 10 Lies Women Think Men Believe with surprise guest Owen Cook. If you want to see me actually encountering Owen Cook for the first time, it's on there. But if you can put that link in the chat, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Back to your ice cream thing here.
Yeah, so I was going to say, so back to the ice cream thing is that mentality. Not only does that feed into the idea that like women are run through, but it's also sort of disqualifying women in that sense too, because I think what happens is I think guys like Hafiz, who have this very moralistic perspective to the red pill, they think that it's these fiendish, high level, high value men who are going through every flavor of the ice cream and, you know, Baskin Robbins, right? They're just going through chicks left and right. I hear this he's not the only, I don't want to just pick on Hafiz. I hear this all the time. Like Matt Walsh has talked about this. I know Jordan Peterson equates those guys to rapists, essentially.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a lot of experience on
taking
dating.
from her what you want, you know, it's like, do you realize the fraction of 1% of guys who can actually do that, and the even more minute fraction of guys who are doing it like intentionally? That's the thing. What they don't want to do and what they don't want to recognize is it's not the high value guy that is fiendishly manipulating and exploiting women's, you know, sexuality.
No, it's her friend.
Yeah.
He's a manipulative guy.
Well, it's the women themselves. We're in a situation. We're in a sorry, Aaron. Sorry. We're in a post-marriage society right now. I tried to bring this up on Adam Sosnick with Ruslan. We're in a post-marriage society right now, and it's based on what's becoming really kind of polyamory, polygamy, whatever you want to call. But it's not the guys that are initiating it. It's women who are initiating it because they got no use for the beta male guys who are like waiting, but they're betas and waiting, right? They're patiently waiting for their girl to finally realize that they're really the guy that they ought to be with. And they settle down like, oh, you're a good dad. You're responsible. You have a job. You go to church on Sundays and you are a upstanding member of the community. You know, you're running for mayor. I don't know. Right. That. Oh, okay. Now that I'm 29, 30, 31 years old and I've been licked a million times in the ice cream store, I'm going to get with you. But I'm not going to be as sexual with you as I was with those guys, the hot guy in the foam cannon party, because I was drunk, he was cute, and one thing led to another, and I was in that
like
hoe
that
phase,
anymore.
and I got ruined for it. And oh my gosh, because of these fiendish men who future forecasted and love bombed me and all this other bullshit. Like I told you, we were talking about this on Rule Zero yesterday. How many women? How many? Should put this to the chat too. How many women will complain about being like love bombed or future forecast or whatever? How many of those women were active participants in their own seduction, in their belief that this was, you know, they read into this something more than what was really there? I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. I'm just saying the thing is like when you get to the point where Hafiz is going on these and just him in general, because this was easy pickings here, but other guys doing the same thing, they want to blame it on the players. Well, it's like you still need another player on the field to be playing with in the first place. So,
it's so duplicitous too. Like remember Kevin Samuels, rest in peace. I don't know how the Catholics do it. How did he die again? Wasn't he banging one of them hoes that he says belonged to the streets? Had a heart attack?
Well, all I know is she was in from out of town.
Yeah. All these girls are just run through and the pickup artists are ruining them. And then as soon as the camera goes off.
Hypertension. Yes.
Yeah, as soon as the camera goes off, WID, text sent, 2 a.m.
It was the Red Bulls.
Those are the guys I worry about the most, to be honest. The ones preaching the loudest. Because I still remember, like in the 80s and 90s, where evangelicals were talking about the decline of society, and then they got a blowy from some 16-year-old dude in the bathroom. I'm like, never trust a guy preaching a little too loud, you know?
Yeah.
I bet you this guy, what's his name? Hafiz or whatever? I bet you he's licking ice cream all damn day.
Yeah.
I think guys too, they miss on, here's the point on it too. When they say girls are getting run through, I think guys have an image in their head that girls are having sex like guys. Like it's hundreds of one night stands. I don't think guys really understand how girls build their notches. It's basically serial monogamy. I think you can agree on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it in my own life. A lot of friends, a lot of girls I sailed with, same thing. They had a boyfriend. They were extremely loyal to him. You know, every 2 months it'd be a new boyfriend. But it was a new boyfriend, and she never cheated on him, but they broke up really quickly, and then they got another one because she hated being alone. And yeah, you do that for 2 years, there's 24 notches right there. You do it for 5 years, it's like 60 notches. And so you're looking at this chick, 27 years old, 60 notches, and you're thinking, oh, she's just run through. She's on the street corner sucking dicks like lined up in a row. It's like, no, she just had a new boyfriend for extended periods of time. And she's never been alone for more than like 3 days, but she's fiercely loyal to all of them. So don't, and it gets me because guys seem to think that it's impossible then for these ones. It's like, no, it's not impossible. It's hypergamy. She's fiercely loyal to her best hypergamous option. And as soon as she's not, then she's not. Now, I don't know what it is about those guys. Maybe a lot of those guys were worth keeping. Maybe she's just too young to want to settle down. Maybe she's messed up. I don't know. But I guess I'll end on this. Remember Lacey Green, that feminist?
Yes.
Sex positive feminist?
Yes.
You guys, everything guys would bitch about would be her. She was like, feminism this, toxic masculinity that. Yeah. Got some good dick from a good man. And all of a sudden she's like, I took the red pill and men are being treated horribly. All you got to do is just be that guy.
Fuck the feminism right out of her.
Yeah, we said it yesterday. It's at the point now where like your wife will ask you, hey, who we voting for this election?
Yeah.
Like that kind of trust, you can get that from a girl. You can't get that with stupid ice cream metaphors and Hafiz trying to pitch Gumroad to you.
Yeah.
You'd almost have to listen to a guy who's wearing a Raiders hat, giving 3-hour live streams that may be boring, but they're full of information that's pretty goddamn useful.
I think I'm getting a little bit more entertaining in my old age here, so I've been doing this.
So.
Yeah, I think all of Pat Campbell has finally sunk in. Now I'm a black belt in Pat Campbellisms.
Nice. I miss that guy, man.
Well, I've been hearing this for so long, and this is just the next variation of it. Like, Hafiz is not the first guy to come up with this. I remember guys like Paul Elam and what's the other guy? Dean Esme would talk about like, oh man, it's easy to get with chicks, man. All you gotta do is go down to the local bar and just hang out and wait till they approach you, and blah blah blah. And it's like, dude, you are the last person I would be looking at to. But their rationale, their mentality is that it is like guys like Rouge back in the day, anyways, who were ruining women for good guys like them. Right? We can't find any good women because you guys are corrupting them. You're not leaving them better than you found them. And there's a whole section on that, by the way, in my fifth book, in the Player's Handbook, where I go into the fallacies of ethical game, which is like, oh, leave her better than you found her. And just by just by the act of gaming her, just by the act of seducing a woman, whether your intention is to like settle down with her and have a family with her, or you're making her a notch, it doesn't matter. The very act of you doing that, you're not going to leave her better than you found her, because it comes back to the alpha widow. And a lot of people don't know what an alpha widow is. So let me explain it to you in 8th grade English. Okay. Mm-hmm. Alpha widow is a woman who has been with a guy before. She was one of the flavors in the ice cream shop, and she can't get over that guy. And I was just reading this morning. I'm going to read it later on here in a bit, but I was reading this morning an article somebody sent me about how this girl's first boyfriend, I guess, ruined her for any other man. And like, she's married now. She's like, got a great guy. I love him to death. We've been together. We're having kids, blah, blah, blah. I'll call it up here in a second. That's actually what sort of gave me the inspiration to do today's show. But you got to remember, it's not just the fiendish players. It's the woman herself. It's what was the circumstance with her and her first boyfriend, and then you came along. It's not a numbers game. It's not an alpha play. She didn't meet Andrew Tate, and he didn't ruin her for life. It was just some average dude that she got with that she can't get over. She might have a notch count of 3 or 4, if that. But the one guy out of those 3 or 4 guys left her with such an alpha impact that the guy she's with now will never measure up to the metric or the standard of the guy that she had with, who you never forget your first kind of thing. And so women are writing constantly about this. And that's why I say, was it 5 minutes of alpha? Sorry, let me put credit where it's due. This is actually Artis Royce who said this. Yeah. 5 minutes of alpha trumps 5 years of beta.
Here's a question, too, for the audience on this. Do you think those guys, the ones that aren't good enough and didn't measure up to the older guy, do you think there's no signs that that's happening? Do you think that they're doing their best and she's given all the signs that she's loving them and it's great? I doubt it. There's no way she's not giving them signals that, like, yeah, you're my second choice. But those guys put up with it. They accept it. They ego invest themselves in it, and so they hide themselves from the signals.
Yeah.
That's the part that gets me. It's like you're involving yourself in this deception. And so it's really hard to feel sorry for a guy when he's making his misery like his own raison d'etre. I'll use some French. That's your reason to exist, your mental point of origin.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully I'll be able to read this, because it's constantly updating. It's gonna run me ragged here. Let me instead of putting
it gonna run you up a flagpole. I've been waiting to see it.
I can already see the freaking latency for me trying to bring this up, but I'll put it on here and see if we can make this work. If it doesn't, I'll switch back. This is it. It's off of the Metro, I think is what it's called. All right. Can you guys see that? Yes, you can. Okay, good. Hopefully whenever you like put things on like this page has like embedded video, and when you put it in StreamYard, sometimes it slows shit down. So I'm going to read this real quick. It's a very short read, so it won't take but a second here. This is great. A few weeks ago, I was paying for my petrol. That's gasoline here in the United States. When I glanced to my left and I saw him. He was older, much older, with graying hair and a sagging jawline. He was paying for a can of drink. Okay. But it was him, my first love. My heart quickened, my stomach flipped. In that moment, I was 17 again, full of sorrow, despair, and nerves. You see, this man broke my heart 27 years ago. And although it no longer hurts, the scar is still there. Yeah, well, it sounds like it kind of hurts because you wouldn't be writing this whole damn thing if it didn't, okay? I'm not alone. In an interview, singer Craig David admitted to the reason he has never found love and settled down is because of a girl who broke his heart when he was a teenager. Oh, now we're going to blame it on these guys, right? In newspaper interviews this year, he said, after my early childhood sweetheart breakup, my heart kind of closed down. I feel open enough to be apologetic for the relationship my heart was closed for. I feel sorry for girls and women in the latter stages of my life who tried to open up my heart. This dude sounds like very, very feminine. Okay, so unlike Craig, I did move on. I met my husband, Cornell, in 2005, and we married in 2009, and now have 2 children together. He's the love of my life, and we are incredibly happy together. But the memories of that first crushing heartbreak are still vivid. I was 16 when I got together with my first boyfriend, Stefan. We met through a friend one day in the park. Like, she knows, like, all, like, she's coming up with all this detail here. Mm-hmm. He was 3 years, remember, this was 27 years ago, right? He was 3 years older than me, had a battered hatchback, and compared to the other boys at school, appeared worldly wise. During the week, I did my homework and prepared for my GCSEs. But that weekend, he turned up at my door, and would take me for drives or to the cinema. It was very innocent. We had a snog here and there, but that was it. But I fell for him. In my head, I was already playing out the scene where one day we would marry and have babies. My friend thought I was mad. They were in the throes of changing boys like items of clothing. Really? But I stuck with Stefan. It was a combination of things. My parents didn't get on, and he became didn't get on, and he became like my family. It was him who'd pick me up from a night out, who'd make sure I got home safe. In a way, even though he was only 3 years older, he was like a sort of father figure. Then it was 17. He dumped me. It came out of nowhere. I'd written poetry about him. For goodness sake, he had no explanation other than he wanted to move on. I can still remember us sitting in front of the car seat, or in the front seats of the car, as he told me he no longer felt the same about me, that it wasn't this type anymore. He wasn't his type. I wasn't his type anymore. Stupidly, I even begged him to change his mind, sobbing that I'd change everything from my hair color to my silly giggle if it made him stay. Here we are. Poor girl. And let's see, it didn't work. I was utterly devastated. Okay, so we're going to get this romance novel thing going here. I cried, sort of crying you do after you turning 18, into my pillows for weeks, but I barely ate. I couldn't stop thinking about him. I passed my driving test, but would slowly drive past his house, trying to see if basically this chick is obsessed, okay? It ruined my life for years. I tried dating boys at university, but it never worked out. At weekends, I just go home and drive around, hoping to bump into Stefan. In a world of mobile phones and social media, I had no idea where he was, who he was seeing, or what he was doing. That was maddening. I looked him up on social media, but he didn't even exist. One of those strange people who leaves no Google trace. I married a man in 2003, age 25, but it lasted 2 years. Probably because she was pining for this guy still. I loved him, but I wasn't ready to commit. The relationship itself had been 6 years long, but it fizzled out. I guess she must have met that guy right afterwards. I wonder now if it had anything to do with the hangover of heartbreak that I seem to have taken so badly. And this is with the guy right now. And she's writing this about this dude, not this guy, the other dude. Okay. So anyways, what this is, I guess I could read the rest. Hey, let me finish it up. He didn't glance at me. This was when she met him again. But let's see. I lived in Italy for 7 years with Cornell before moving back to the area where I lived as a child. I never saw Stefan and didn't even think about him. I had no idea what had become of him. Then the petrol station meeting happened. Wow, serendipitously. And although seeing him brought about no butterflies or feelings of adoration from that scar from the first heartbreak did sting. I'm a 45-year-old woman with a family, a husband, a house, a happy career as a writer. But in that split second, I was 17 years old again, the 17-year-old me again, cast adrift and feeling utterly miserable. He didn't glance at me. He paid and walked away. He didn't. If he did see me, he didn't show it. It had been so long, he would have even recognized me. Now I have blonde hair, not red, and I'm older. As I walked away, I didn't feel sick or upset or anything. Things I'd once felt, I actually felt relief. Just like Craig David said, for some of us, heartbreak never leaves you, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So anyways, this is making the rounds this morning. I thought I would throw it out there for everybody today.
Yeah, bored housewife fantasizes about the man that got away who doesn't technically exist, even though he sort of does.
I'm glad you brought that up because one of the essays I've done, it's not in any book. You can find it on therationalmail.com. It's called the one that got away, right? I believe, or 5 Minutes of Alpha, I think is what it was. But it was based on that song that Katy Perry did called The One That Got Away. And it's essentially exactly this story. And think about when she wrote that, like back in 2013, 2014.
Oh, that was during was it the Russell Brand breakup-ish area thing?
Actually, it wasn't. It was, she was she might have been, it might have been post Russell Brand at that point.
Right.
The thing is like I think she was writing it for the guy that she was with in high school because like I got the information from Royce back then. Cool. And it was because she was like I think she was at some concert or something like that. And she was announcing the song and she says, whatever the guy's name is, Mike or whatever, this is for you, you son of a bitch, blah, blah, blah. Like you're the one that got away, but I'm now, look at me, I'm with Russell Brand, which she's not now, of course, but I'm better now, I'm past you. Yet I'm writing songs and I'm like, talking shit about you on stage right now, right? Like it's some form of revenge. And all the girls in this audience are like, yeah, good for you, girl, you go. But yet 5 minutes of alpha trump 5 minutes of beta. Or excuse me, 5 years of beta. And that's really what that's about. It's the one that got away. Now, if we go back and we look at what Hafiz was saying, like this girl, by all measures, was only with one guy who made that alpha impact on her and probably was the first person she had sex with. Now, does that guy sound like some fiendish devil of a man going into Baskin Robbins, licking every ice cream flavor that he can get with? Do we know anything about that guy? Probably not. But that's probably not what he was after when he was like, 19 and she was 16. Okay. But she's still 45 years old and writing stories for what is the Metro about that experience that happened way back when she was like, a sophomore in high school, junior in high school, something like that.
And I'm sure she's got a great memory too and remembers it perfectly.
Well, she did.
Exactly the way it was.
It was like note for note, man. She knows every last little nuance of what was going on. Like she's reliving it in her brain.
Mm-hmm.
So at what
that's the
point,
thing. She's reimagining it. Isn't that how memories work? You don't actually remember it. You just re-experience it. Change some things here and there.
Mm-hmm.
All the rough edges get worn away. All the good stuff gets amplified. I remember my deployment was like this, man. I hated it when I was there. I wrote it down. I had a journal. I'm like, this is miserable. And 6 months later, I'm like, dude, that was the funnest time of our life.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like, and then poor Cornell, he's got to relive this probably. How many times is he going to relive this? Because you got to know he's probably heard the story before. So she's got the alpha widow that she met when she was 17 years old. Then she's got the ex-husband that she had at 25 years old, who was probably the rebound from all of that. Yeah. And now she's with poor Cornell with kids in tow. And that's the downstream effect of all this, by the way. And it's not that Cornell did anything wrong. It's not that even the guy she was divorced from did anything wrong. It's not even that the guy that she was with broke up with her. It's because the effect of that guy on that one woman is what sort of ruined her all the way up to 45 years old. And you know what? It's not the guy that did that. It's the woman who is still pining for that guy because she hasn't found anybody that measures up to that. No one laid the dick down as good as whatever that guy's name was.
Yeah, just give her the emotions. That's what I don't get. I really don't get it. Like every guy loves challenges. You'll play video games for 100 hours straight because you want to get that one rare whatever. Pokemon Go, dogs were getting walked for hours because you needed the rare Pokemon. But when it comes to women, guys all of a sudden have no desire for that sense of accomplishment, the sense of like getting something that other people don't have. Mm-hmm. Just hold out for the one girl that starts getting really strong tingles for you. And the experience is fun. The process is fun. Do you guys not like it, talking to girls? Like, not you guys. I mean, the hypothetical guy that's watching the SCs with the ice cream reference. Like, do you not like talking to girls? Do you just want them to fall into your lap with like, oh, I've always wanted to suck dick and you're the first guy ever to make me, like, really?
Yeah. There has to be
the challenge, man.
Well, I mean, I get this all the time, especially from like people like Lauren Southern or like any of these like Sun.
Why are you gonna bring her into this? We were having such a delightful time.
Well, I know. I invoked the name of the devil. But no, it's okay, Michaela Peterson. What? But it's this idea that if men would be better, then women they'd follow along. Like the only reason we're in this shithole and this mess, gentlemen, is because you don't take responsibility and you don't live up. And you gotta scold the guy who is licking the ice cream and tasting the ice cream in the freaking grocery store or wherever, Baskin Robbins. You gotta scold that guy and tell him, listen up, hey, you, leave her alone.
Hey, Rollo, question for you then. So why is it, I know you know why, but why is it that guys can't act collectivist and shame each other for gender-specific choices that work out in their own best interest? Is there a reason for that?
Because that's not the way the world works.
That's how women work.
That's how women work, yes.
They want brotherhood, uber alles is what they want, and they're not going to get it.
I wish that were the case.
Women.
We can collectively come together for purposes. We can come together in times of war. We can come together for projects. We can come together to build empires and businesses.
But not just as default.
And so, no, there has to be incentive to do that. That's the problem. That's a problem.
What guy's going to be incentivized? Yeah, guys, I'll make sure I turn down all this sex so you get yours. Like, come on.
Well, there's a reason. I mean, look at it this way. There's a reason why women are in, and people say, well, university degree is shit. But there's a reason why there's more women in university than there are men right now. There's a reason why women are rapidly outclassing and outpacing men in politics and in business and pushing themselves into the American workplace and doing all the, you go girlism, right? There's a reason for that in everything except for manual labor and raw sewage and electricians. And let's look at all the other shitty jobs that, oil rig derricks. Yeah, they're not doing those, but they are in control of the men who are on those rigs. So, so when you look at the sort of disempowerment of men that has been happening really for, I would argue probably for the last 4 generations, but you can go back to like 2010. And I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember Hannah Rosen when she wrote that article, The End of Men?
Yes.
You will find that on my blog one of the earliest essays I ever wrote was about the end of men. And she wrote a book about it too. And it was how men were going to be replaced in the future and how, how much more women were in college and how they're going to get into the positions of authority so they can affect guys who are part of the workforce, right? It doesn't matter who's on the oil rig. It matters who is in control of the staffing and who is in control of the business that guy happens to be a part of. And so when you look at politics, when you look at the social empowerment that we've given to women, men were on the decline and still are right now, to the point where you get Jordan Peterson can become Jordan Peterson because there's so many purposeless guys, because there's no incentive for them to do anything. They can jerk off to porn. Everything is already done for them. They can chase their own pleasures or whatever. Was it Andrew Huberman is talking about these days? And he's right. And they are correct. And so what's the incentive for guys to collectively come together and have a brotherhood uber alles? Why would they do anything? Why bother with anything?
And that's the part that I love about it, that nihilism that everybody hates. Like, oh, nothing matters anymore. I'm like, that's great. Nothing matters anymore. Like, for what, the first 3 generations in history, you get to do exactly what you want. There's no expectations. You're not being sent to war. Everything you do now is an opt-in problem. And I guess the most freeing time guys have had in human history. And what are they doing? Bitching about it. I'm like, guys, it's great. Enjoy it. Yeah, you want to go sleep around? That's fine. If you want to settle down, well, you got to be able to at least be able to sleep around, because the girl that wants to settle down and have a family, what's your saying that you do on this one? She doesn't want a guy who could cheat, but she wants to know that he could or whatever. Yeah,
they don't want a man who will cheat. They don't want a man to cheat. They want a man, but they love a man who could cheat on them.
So you have to turn yourself into the kind of man that's cheating all the time, and then just decide not to. Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah, it goes against whatever moral fabric you've been trained in the church that has all those single moms they want you to marry, but whatever. Do you want to win? Do you want to be happy? Or do you want to just do what you're told?
Well, so like when guys are making gumroad courses, or they're like making their, their latest outrage, 30-second clip because, ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Right? That plays. Oh, men need to take responsibility. We need to tell these other guys who are licking the ice cream that they should stop licking the ice cream. Right?
Do you ever notice that too? It's never I'm gonna hold these bitches accountable. It's you guys need to.
We all need to get together. Yes, us 80%ers, all of us beta male incels, all of us chumps were watching for you to begin with to like become better men. We're all gonna get together and tell these guys who are already at the top of their game, stop licking the ice cream.
Yeah. But it's never him doing it. Like the Hafiz or Hafiz or whatever his name is.
He's married.
Guys laugh. I keep screwing up his name in different ways. But yeah, has he done one thing to hold these bitches accountable other than tell everybody else to do it for him?
No, because he would alienate 50% of his audience, Chris Williamson.
Yeah.
Right. They don't. Yeah. It's crazy to me. Like whenever we, and I got these some other topics to get to today, but whenever we hear like these are the two hottest topics, like on Fresh and Fit or anywhere else for that matter, is high value man should cheat. Right. Now, you've never heard those words come out of my mouth.
I'm writing this stuff
Everybody
down.
points at me like, oh, Rolo said no. That's a derivative of Rolo said. Okay. That's not what Rolo said. Okay. I say this. Women want a man they don't want a man who does cheat, but they want a man who could cheat. Whether you are or you aren't is immaterial to that freaking point and that concept and that principle. The should is not in my fucking vocabulary. Is in my vocabulary. And I don't know how many ways to say that, in preschool level English for people to understand. But people come to me. Oh, Andrew Tate said, women are bad and evil. Let's go see what Rolo has to say. What are you looking at me for? But I'm the one that they come to. But so that's number one. So it's like high value men should cheat. The other one is this is like if a woman is with a guy, that she should erase her social media footprint. She should immediately close her Instagram account. She should immediately, because if she's really into that guy, she really loves that guy, she should automatically
barefoot, pregnant.
Well, barefoot, pregnant, but she should want to say, you know what? I found the best flavor of ice cream I can find. And so therefore I don't need OnlyFans anymore. I don't need Instagram anymore. I don't need to do what I have been doing for a while now. So now I'm going to put pictures of him on here, or now we're going to show that I'm a couple and risk my online brand as a single freewheeling, jet screaming hootie queen with big tits and blonde hair and doing what I
want her to just get it.
Because I met the best guy I could possibly get, and you know what? I don't want there to be any confusion that I'm with him. Doesn't.
So why is he telling everybody then to start demanding it from your woman? Don't you just want her to just get it and want to do that? Dude, I see that. My girl I used to live with when I was in the military, she was like a great wingman. She turned, turned 28, 29, decided to settle down, have a family. All the friends from the whore days disappeared. All the social media stuff with all the bikini shots disappeared. What was left? Like pictures of baked goods and all this stuff. Like women do that. They do sanitize their social media when they settle down. They're into a guy.
Yeah.
But again...
Well, I'll tell you it's what got me.
Well, yeah, they can if the guy actually does it. If the guy just thinks he's doing it and he settles for second best, of course he's going to keep it running.
Do you know what
you think Peterson really thinks that this guy is the greatest love of her life, or do you think she's just like, what a great brand?
Oh man, do you really want me? Do you want my opinion? Like, ask me for my opinion.
Dude,
my opinion on that.
You asked me my opinion on Roosh. This is my asking of you for your opinion on Peterson.
All right, so here's the deal. This is factual. You can go and watch the interview between Michaela and Tammy Peterson. But like, Tammy Peterson was living with another dude for 2 years before she finally said, "Oh yes, okay, I'll marry you." Because that's when Jordan was coming up and he'd finally finished his degree and he looked like a good safe bet for the future. She was living with another dude, left that guy, and then she was sort of like on, looking for love, looking for that, again, epiphany phase. And maybe it happened a little bit earlier, but that was the 80s, right? And then this guy from her past who fell in love with her at 7 years old, who'd been asking her to marry him for like 3 times before she said yes. Funny thing is, she just broke up with the guy she'd been living with for 2 years. Right when she's like, you know what? I think that's a good idea. You're actually the one for me. You've been here all along, And so her ship.
It sounds like she had to run this by the PR team first.
Yeah. Well, by the way, she's not the only one. I shouldn't pick on just the Petersons because I know people who I mingle with quite a bit who have gone through very similar experiences as well, who are very high powered, very well paid people. So
I'm wondering what kind of a boyfriend girlfriend YouTube duo you could be talking about right now. I'll leave it to the chat to figure that out.
There's more than one. Just so we're clear here. I'm not talking about it. I'm not like wink, wink, nod, nod. That's what I'm trying to do.
I want to hear in the chat. I want to see how close I am. If you guys can see it too or not.
That's the case. But that was the case. And it's like, okay, you are essentially living out what I've been talking about for 20 plus years now. And I hate being right all the time, and I hate to be a dick about it, but I got to be a dick about it if I'm going to call this shit out. And
you got to be a doomsayer.
I'm not trying. Exactly. I'm not trying to say he's like anything comes out of Peterson's mouth is worthless. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that look at this is the template. This is what happened. Yeah. Along the way, it follows the same, predictive framework is what I think Dr. Sean Smith would call it, and that's what it was.
You know what? I want to root for Peterson now, honestly. Like, look at what he's had. His audience has just run him ragged. He actually cared about these guys, and they destroyed him for it. And his daughter's running roughshod over his brand, and then they laugh at him like, look at how weak he looks. I'm like, dude, if you had 1 million incels and a daughter doing all this crap to you, and you're still alive, like, you wish you looked that good.
Dude, I'd be doing way harder drugs than what he was doing if that was the case.
Yeah, and then the one time he gets weak, what happens? His daughter's taking, like, selfies at the hospital bed, shaking her ass in front of him, essentially. Dude.
Well, so I get that. Like, I hate to invoke the name of Lauren Southern or whatever, but it's like it's that trad con want for like, oh, I want to finally settle down and get right with God and all this other shit. And it's like, well, the thing is you can do that. It's the other thing is saying that the reason why women are bad is because men are bad. It's like, at what point do we say, you know what? Maybe we need to hold women accountable. And that's really the whole thing with Kevin Samuels, the appeal of Kevin Samuels, the appeal of Fresh and Fit, the appeal of any of these guys. And I saw another video today. I forget what the name of it was, but this guy goes to like these events in like Vegas, and he goes on the street and he's asking women like what are pointed questions, but it's sort of like this question tree. Like if then logic, like if she says this, you say this kind of thing. And it makes for a good formulaic kind of TikTok video where it's like, oh, I can't believe all women are like that, blah, 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 blah. And that's the other thing is like generalities versus, anecdotes, right? Personal experiences versus like, larger generalities. And so then we get into like, selection bias and everything else. I thought what was interesting, I mentioned this on last week's show, is one of the things that Jedediah Bila was coming up with was that, oh, well, the guys on Fresh and Fit, they select these girls because they're all just dumb bimbos and, like, her words, not mine, ratchet 304s, right? And they're all just these girls in Brickell that scoop up out of Komodo. No, they're not actually. And I actually read this.
I thought it seemed obvious to me. I'm like, they're not grabbing, like, isn't every chick on there with an OnlyFans account?
No,
I don't watch it enough. Maybe I'm missing it.
But here's the irony. Most of them are. Most of them have them. And the thing is most of them are not from Miami. And they had a guy do this. In fact, I'm going to see if I can find it again because I think I still got Big Mo's.
Yeah, like New Yorkers should know this already. Every girl that's New Yorker, not from New York, they can already tell she's there to either run away from a history or to build us to history outside of eyesight.
I mean, they come there for, is that what it is?
Sex in the City.
Well, they come there for exactly what happens in Miami stays in Miami kind of thing. Yeah. And let's see if I got those. He sent me this text. They did a full study of this, I guess, if you want to call it a study.
Miamiology. I'll look at.
Yeah, well, Miamiology, but yeah, right. But it's I have the stats here. I got to look them up. Where's Mo? Come on, Mo, give it to me again. Where are you?
Work on it, Mo. Don't make me doomsayer more stuff.
Yeah.
But it gets me on this too. Well, until you find yours, I'll run my mouth here. It's a selection bias. Like if you're an attention grabbing hoe, you're going to be more apt to be on podcasts or on videos or making TikToks. And then when you're watching these things, you get a skewed version of the world. Yes, it's growing. Yes, 30% of men are incels, but 70% of men aren't. And I would argue it's probably pretty reasonable to expect 30% of these chicks are just 304s. But that means 70% aren't. They're just working as the barista on Starbucks, and they're serial monogamists. And that's
here it is. Okay, I got it.
That's the real life. All right, let's see this.
Here are the stats that I got last week. I read these on the show last week. I'll give them to you because this is probably new info to you. Okay, so the show's only been out for, was it the January of 2021 is when they really took off. Okay, so They had a guy go and watch every single one of these shows, and of course, in the beginning of it, I know it's like you're doing the Lord's work, my friend. But he watched every single one of these shows, and in the beginning of every show, Fresh says, "Where are you from? How old are you? Your education level, blah blah blah." Okay, so this is what he said. This was as of last week. He said there are 1,429 female guests have been on the show thus far. Okay, so just under 1,500. Okay. 938 are originally from other states. 148 are from other countries outside of the United States. Okay. Mm-hmm. So New York and California seems to be where most of the girls are from. Not from Miami, not from Brickell, not from ratchet ass South Beach, from California and New York. Those are the majority because they come in from out of town to go party at Komodo and Sexy Fish and whatever else is going on in Brickell. Okay. Texas, Georgia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Massachusetts, Colorado, DC, and Nevada. Way to represent. Okay, so new stat. Those are the states that they have come from. Okay, new stats. 337 of the female guests are actually from Florida. Of the 1429, only 337 of them are from even the state of Florida. Montana, Nebraska, Alabama, Oklahoma, Kentucky, South Dakota.
Larry.
Kentucky, South Dakota, Arkansas, Kansas, Wyoming, Delaware, and Vermont are the only states we haven't had girls come on the show from. So the argument as to whether these are just hand-selected chicks that they're just from outside the area or they're just from South Beach or just from this area is bullshit. That's the hard data right there. So when people go, well,
they're self-selected for hoeing, not for geography.
Well, what happens then is you get women who want to qualify the pool. They want to qualify the general. Well, the pool is not quite what you think it is, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no. And what's great is you can actually go and find that data. Okay, it takes some time. Thank you for doing that, whoever did that. And they will probably end up doing a full episode on that. I give it away, but the whole thing, when I hate hearing that because people say, well, it's selection bias. No, it's not. And it's not even just this country, right? I mean, some of them are from outside the country here. So, that argument kind of the selection bias falls apart. And I'm glad we can actually bring that up. But so are all women like that? And I think that's what guys like Hafiz have a real problem with is when they think that guys are just generalizing too much because they're thinking that incels and these guys who we just talked about, the Lost Boys, who have no incentive to do much else with themselves except for go online and talk shit, right? Or the guy who goes out to Vegas and he goes to the women on the street and he talks with these leading questions and everything. Then guys see that and they go, oh, they're all like that. Oh, no, it's just Vegas. No, it's not. It's all over the country and it's all over the world right now. And we can prove that. So like the women who are in Vegas, that doesn't necessarily mean they're all from like Nevada or they all live in Vegas. They're there.
I see what you're saying. Like, the trad shopping list. What's the thing? No colored hair, no tattoos, live in these specific places. And they forget. Yeah, those. But this is like with everything. Like, how I'm not going to say it on the show for the terms, but like the trans things, the alphabet stuff. Mm-hmm. And it seems like a giant proportion of things, but it's like a rounding error. That's how many people there are, but they all live in very specific areas. So if you see one, you're going to see like 90% of the community there. And I think with hoeing, it's the same thing. It's like you said, they're from everywhere, but they're all going to Miami to party it up.
Mm-hmm.
But the takeaway from that to me isn't just like, oh, well, the hoes are everywhere. You can't stop it. It's just that hoes do what hoes do. And so if you don't want to hoe, don't get the girls that do hoe things. Mm. If she's like, yeah, I got to go to Miami to be on a podcast, right there, that should be a red flag for you.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, is it okay if me and my girlfriends go on Fresh and Fit?
Yeah.
The reason
if you see luggage tag from Cancun on her luggage, yeah. But again, like people act different. I don't know how many hoes you've known in your life, probably a lot, being in the liquor business as long as you were. Did you not notice that they act like just their mannerisms? They're different than other girls, right? Some girls act like extremely good girlish. Some girls are like super partyish. Some girls extremely, what that word you use, cockatiels or whatever?
Coquettes,
yeah. But after you meet enough girls, you can kind of tell offhand. You're like, oh, okay, this one seems like one of those types. This one seems kind of like those types. And I don't think you can get that unless you actually go and talk to and meet girls and not be afraid of like, is this one ice cream or is this one a 304 or whatever? Go talk to all the 304s. In fact, you want to talk to a lot of 304s. That way you can spot a 304 from a mile away.
Yeah.
But guys are afraid of that because they're too busy. Like, no, I want my virgin ones. Like, you're not going to know if she's there because you have no frame of reference.
Well, when you look at like the popular arguments, right, which is like should a man cheat or erase your Instagram once you're with a guy, the reason why those kind of hit home is because there's, first of all, it's a white knight factor. Like guys want to just go in there and defend my lady's honor kind of thing, and like I would never cheat on you, so fuck me instead of him, right? But they don't want to get with you. They want to get with the guy with the dark triad, personality traits. Yeah, and until they don't, until you're useful, until like they're 31, which is when he got married, by the way, until you're like 30, 31 years old. And they're like, okay, I guess I need you now. It's like the Ross and Rachel joke that I was talking about with Jedediah Bila. I said, did you ever see that episode of Friends where Ross and Rachel say, oh, you're the perfect boyfriend, you're the perfect girlfriend, whatever. She's like, but not now. I want to have my hoe phase. And here's the deal. I'll tell you what, we'll make an arrangement. If we're both single at 30 and we haven't got settled down with somebody, we haven't met anybody, then we'll get married. Like, that's fantastic for the chick. That is like the shittiest deal you could possibly get as a guy, right? And back in the mid 90s or whenever it was going on, whenever that episode was out, like that, the laugh track is going in the back. It's like when you look at that with a red pill lens, you're like, this is pretty fucked up.
I laugh. That is funny.
Yeah, even now, yeah, exactly. Because I think I laugh at Ross now more because he's like sort of the very uber beta male on that show. And my niece likes that show. My daughter liked that show very much. And it's funny to watch those old shows and the reruns of those. I'm like, this is a fucking horror movie, with red pill lens.
But I mean, we didn't know. It was the 90s. It was a different time.
Well, yeah, because we were blissfully ignorant back then. We didn't have the same, like, I think that's probably one of the reasons why we're even having this conversation, or why there's like such like conflict, I guess, like between the sexes, is because now our eyes are open to the shit that they weren't when Ross and Rachel will make a deal to get married when they're 30 years old.
And nobody is there to guide you. You get all this great, honest information. The guys in the chat, I see you guys, you're nailing all the points, you're sticking the landing, but nobody gave you a what do you do about it. There's only like, I don't know, a few people on a certain podcast, I think rhymes with Mool Zero. No, literally, we're the only ones that talk about this. Every example you bring on every one of these things we do together is, look at this moron running his mouth about how bad people are and just getting you frothed up before they pitch you on some Gumroad course.
I know. I hate it and I love it at the same time when like John MLD comes on and he's like, what are we complaining about today, guys? It's like, I hate that you're right. Yeah. You're absolutely right, because that's what it sounds like. It's just, certainly the people who are outside the manosphere think that it sounds like very spit it through my teeth kind of thing. And it's like,
I'd say it's closer to frustration than anything, though. It's like, guys, it's there. You just got to take it. This is the 700th episode. We've told you how to just take it, and you're still here mad at the hose.
Oh, I have to throw this one out there because this is perfect. And this is not even a super chat. You call it Rule Zero because women have zero accountability.
Yeah, wow.
You're nailed the one that named, by the way, if you guys don't know, Ryan is the one who named Rule Zero. So explain to the folks why we call it Rule Zero.
So here's the funny thing. Red Pill has only one rule, and it's Rule Zero, as in the 0th rule, like before even the first rule.
Gaming,
yeah. You are here in the Red Pill for A, male sexual strategy, and B, positive male identity. And from every subreddit, every community, every group of guys, they're like, you're either on board with Rule Zero or you're not on the team. And the funny story behind this was, and here's a history lesson before Rollo, back when George Bruno thought he was great, and his brother, who still does. They were sitting here and there was this big, you remember they always bitched about purity circles or whatever, like you have to be like, and that stuff. And I just laid it out from like, look, guys,
ideological purity test.
Ideological purity test. Yeah. Hunter was talking about it, Bruno, everybody. And it's like, look, guys, there's no purity test. It's literally Rule Zero. And then that I explained it to them. And then a week later, they were calling Rollo like the worst man ever. And they were doing all that nonsense.
I was the manosphere's Hillary Clinton, remember?
So I just find it I actually kind of feel bad. It might have been my fault because I told them that the expectations were to be here for something other than grifting, and then that's when they decided to kick you out. So this is my official apology for you live, so I can be held accountable for my actions of holding guys to like the smallest expectations ever.
Yes. So,
but it just seemed like in an ironic way. We should name it.
What are the two bases? What are the two bases of Rule Zero?
Male sexual strategy, positive male identity.
Right.
Literally it. I don't know what ice cream has to do with that, but
there's nothing sinister. There's nothing about zero accountability. There's not like don't insert your meaning. That's the meaning, right?
Besides, to have accountability for women, that would mean I have expectations, and I just
exactly. Yeah,
so much worse.
Serious ones, yeah. Let me get to some of these super chats right quick. Leon says, Mr. Swolo Swomasi. Thank you. Which way is the beach? That way. I have one question that's bothering me. Why can't women take accountability, right? I know they can't, but why? Is it evolutionary to avoid being blamed and being cast out of the group? What do you think, Ryan?
Well, my first question is I hate why. Let me just say this. You know it's there. Does it matter why? You just know. It's something you could take for granted. If it's one reason or another, is that going to change how you act? If not, then like, why are you wasting your time trying to break apart the female psyche? She doesn't know. She just does it every fiber of her being. It's instinctual. I'll come up with a story if you want it, but it doesn't matter.
I have a whaled essay that's not in any book, and I believe it's called Malice and Intent. That's what it was. Because I had a lot of guys back then asking me, are women just doing this on purpose? Are they evil? Are they is it malice, right? Are they actually malice and forethought? Are they doing this because they're evil, or are they doing it because they don't know their intent? Are they doing it subconsciously, right? Like shit tests was always got that one, right? Don't women know that they're doing shit tests? Well, some of them do. And they realize it, but they're still going to do it anyways. It's like like a chick with big tits walks in and you're like, you're checking out their ass. You're looking at the chick, right? You're going to do that instinctually. And you go, oh, wait, no, I shouldn't do that, or else you're going to be oh, wow, look, because women want to verify the validity of that guy, the authenticity of that guy. They want to see if he really is what he is, as subconsciously as men want to stare at big tits. Mm-hmm. And so is it malice for me to want to like look at a girl with a nice ass and big tits? No, it's just that's how I'm wired.
That's how we're built.
That's how we're made, man. That's how we evolved or created, whatever you want to call it, right? That's the way the machine is and the firmware is. So
people just expect too much from us. We're just meat puppets. That's it.
It can be malice. If women go, I'm kind of like that and I'm going to go with it. It's like that dark triad thing. It's funny to me. We talked about this yesterday. When we talk about dark triad personality traits, why do we always cast it on the guy? Because the guy doing the licking on the ice cream, that guy's got dark triad personality traits, right? Because that's what we want to point. He's a bad man. He's Lucifer.
Well, Rolo, let me tell you, a wise man in a Raiders hat once told me that women have agency when it serves their purposes, and they don't have agency when they serve their purposes. I got a book you should read. It'll tell you all about it. You'll love it.
Yeah, thanks, man. Get it to me after the show. Well, as far as accountability is concerned, it's like, why do women want to be held accountable? Well, because women don't have any problem with cognitive dissonance. Yeah. Or I should say, they have less problem with cognitive dissonance than men do, because men exist in hierarchies, women exist in sort of communitarian, like in circles. Men are in hierarchies on ladders, women exist in circles. And so when like the way that guys compete is they're always trying to get the above that guy on that ladder, as opposed to women who are collectively like, one for you, one for you, one for you. And so when it comes to accountability, women have, as the vulnerable sex, they have to find other alternate means to power, soft means to power, rather than like overt in your face, like punch you in the face power. And so for them to have authority, to them to affect any kind of control over their lives, it's usually through psychology, and it's usually like holding grudges, gossip, communication skills, anything that you want to know why women are better at communication and reading communication than men are, because they evolved, because they had to.
They have to be.
They had to be. And so
I'll put it this way for the guys too. You guys think every girl was honest about her notch count once. So we even kind of don't want them to be accountable. That's why they always say it's just 3. Oh, I've only ever been with 3 guys. Oh, okay. Why is that? Because the first guy she told 27 to ditched her the next day. Yeah. So we don't want them to be accountable. They don't want to be accountable. It's exactly the way things should be.
Yeah. Even that girl who wrote the article about meeting that guy at the petrol station, right? Is that accountability? She accounting for, okay, I'm accounting for myself. Like I was really into this guy. No, because I'll guarantee you, if that guy had turned around, recognized her, and been, "Hey, where you been? What's going on with you?" She would have dropped everything to get with that guy again.
Oh, such a
Trust me.
Kubrick take of that.
Yes.
Was that Eyes Wide Shut? Wasn't that the whole theme of that?
Trust me, if he had come back into her life in any marginal fashion, she would have been all over that, because that's where now is that accountability, because she's already made commitments to Cornell and her kids. But would it be right for her to follow her heart and follow true love? Or would it be right for her to say, no, I'm going to go back with Cornell, and I'm going to even though I'm not going to be as excited and as obsessed with Cornell as I was with this dude that ditched me when I was 17. Like those are two cognitive dissonances. Both of those are right in a woman's head. Like if she was to get with the old boyfriend, or she was 25 years later, right? Get with the old boy. She's still in that cognitive dissonance, right? Get with the old boyfriend, stay with my husband and my kids, but still not have that exciting fun, what is it? Stella got her groove back, eat, pray, love, right? So
here's a question for you too.
Uh-huh.
Let's say that husband, Cornell, was the Cornell the sap?
Cornell is the current husband right now.
Right, the current guy. Let's say if he found out about this thing and she knew once he heard about this that he would have ditched her in a hot minute had she pulled any of this stuff. Do you think the sense of dread that come out of that would have probably made that one who got away a little less interesting?
Yeah, most likely. But I would say the
That's
other
a lesson for the audience, by the way.
Lesson for the audience. Yeah, I was going to say but I mean, we can come back to what Hafiz was saying. It's like this guy sampled one ice cream flavor in the ice cream store when he was 19 and she was 17, and yet she's still ruined by that one guy, that one single experience. So it's like it's not the guys who are like sampling multiple favors. It's the guy. It's the one that got away. It's the alpha widow. It's the one that made the greatest alpha impact. She wouldn't be writing this article if she was over that dude. Okay. She wants to convince everybody she is, but she's not. And in fact, she wants to make it sort of like, well, guys do it too, because she was bringing up some dude who was talking about something similar. It's like, yeah, because he's raised as a defective girl and now he's a defective woman, and that's why he's talking the way he is. But like, it's women who pine over guys who made the biggest alpha impact on them 25 years later.
And the new guys let them. That's the worst part, man. They let them. Want to hold bitches accountable? Start with yours.
Yes. So accountability. It's not about accountability. It's about women's ability to resolve cognitive dissonance. And you got to remember that either one of those options, you can cast it as being right or being wrong. However it suits the purpose, right? So if he was like her first true love and she married this guy, and it's unfortunate for poor Cornell, and he's going to have to take care of the kids and everything else, but she's got to follow her heart and go with the soulmate, the one that got away, right?
Are we talking about Peterson's daughter again?
Yeah.
Isn't that exactly what the Peterson kid did?
Yeah. Yes.
I'm going to Romania. You got the kids. I'll see you never.
Yeah. Well, I got to follow my heart, because the heart will never lead you astray. That's the mentality. It's emotionalism that's being out. But again, it's if either one of those aspects of cognitive dissonance will lead to like consolidating the best possible position for hypergamy, that's the one that's always going to be. There's no problem. They'll hold it until they can make a decision. And that's it's also part of female solipsism too, I should add. Let me get to this. The rest. Let me clear these out here. Rollo, aloofness and disinterest are great tools to game. How would you advise guys that can't help but blush in the cheeks and ears? The girl can clearly see that our actions don't match our face.
The hell?
Really? Like you really think that your cheeks flushing are going to give away your game?
Yeah, man. Just drink. Blame it on the booze.
Yeah, exactly. Have a good stiff drink next to you, and then it's all right. Just the way I get. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then again, don't read too much into that. If the girl's not into you to begin with, it doesn't matter whether you're flushed or not. In fact, you probably look creepy if that's the case. Lord Panic says, Rollo, when is the live stream with your band? We have I think we're going to do it on the 20th of August, because we're having an album release live stream. We're going to be
that's going to be slick.
Yeah, it is going to be great. In fact, I was just listening to the final mix downs. Or have I missed it? No, you haven't. I would love to hear your tips on music mixing, mastering, and time management. Don't come to me for time management. I am the worst there is at it. As far as music mixing, that's probably CJ's department, so you can talk to him about it. Well, we will have a live stream. We're going to listen to all 4 songs. We'll take questions. I'm going to live stream it on this channel, and then I'm going to simulcast it to the Trial of Ascension YouTube channel, which we do have, but there's nothing on it. But there will be soon. And I'll take questions and it's going to be no red pill questions. Don't give me red pill questions. The only one to hear is musicianship stuff. Okay. So yeah, that's coming up on the 20th. We've just decided that's going to be the album drops on the 29th, but we're going to do like a pre-release kind of thing. This is our extinction event. Wasn't nukes. Yeah.
Oh, it's not be hyperbolic.
We're all
here.
going to go now. It's all doomed. Lord Panic, hope I'm not being a binary literalist. However, if it's ideally about alpha impact, but we have stats regarding partner count too, what's more important for men to focus on in regards to the two?
Try your mental point of origin instead of worrying. Like, I see this. You're focused so much on the girls and some shopping list.
Yeah.
Just focus on you. If she's really into you, you'll know. If she's
women
really
who are
devoted
into
to you, you'll know.
Women who are into you won't confuse you.
Yeah, if you've got strong enough boundaries, enough abundance to know that if some girl's treating you like second best, you can kick her out and replace her. First off, girls tend to treat you a lot better when they know how easily replaceable they are. And that's not even me. That was, what's the comedian again? Why can I not remember his damn name?
Patrice O'Neill?
Thank you. That was O'Neill saying it. Before Rollo even said it. We all been saying it.
Oh my gosh, Rollo actually acknowledged. Yeah, dude, I do. And Time Likas too. Thanks. Keep coming at me with the hate. I'm good with it. Yeah. Let's see. Hot guy in the foam cannon party. Rollo and Ryan get down here to Cancun as soon as possible. The 304s are running like wild. Hulkamania, brother. Okay.
My brother and I were down there just before COVID started too. That was fun.
Yep. Let's see. Dark Knight Dev says, I was thinking about taking singing lessons. Is there a way to make songs using red pill concepts? Yes, there is, actually. I will point you in the right direction, my friend. Are there any famous songs that have red pill in them?
What's that one you were in? The Mommy's in the Club or whatever?
Thought Mommy's in the Club. Yeah,
there you go.
That is most definitely written from. God, let me think about that. That's actually a really good question.
You always said metal.
Pretty much
was
every
like the,
song by Pantera, like you take, was it the love song? You take this love. That's a really good one. And this is back in the 90s too, by the way. I'm trying to think of any other ones that would be like quote unquote red pill songs. Now I'm gonna like Thought Mommy's in the Club is the fellas, which is Kevin Savo, Rocky Savo, Mark Savo. I think Rage is in that too. They go check that if rap is your thing, that's your thing. Also, I'm gonna throw out Giovanni Sanders, who is like a kid that I really want to start doing some songs with. He's got some really good stuff. Is it Giovanni Sanders? It might be under Giovanni in August too. I think that's the name of his band. But it's Giovanni Sanders. He has more of like if you like I'm trying to think who he sounds like. He sounds like a Day to Remember. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that band, but it's that style, which is interesting to me because he's a black dude and he plays that style of music. I'm like, damn, this is great stuff, man. I expect like rap out of this. Rap, I don't know. You think rap is like red pill or blue pill these days?
Oh, these days it's blue as hell. It's mostly marketing gimmicks.
Giovanni,
wasn't it you that said it used to be the drug dealers and now it's the drug users? Yeah. Well,
Giovanni is Jevani Sanders. Go check him out. He's on Spotify. It's got some good shit on there. You'll like that. Men have the ability to. This is Blue Pill Unplugged. Men have the ability to affect their environment. Women can't do it directly, so they have to manipulate the men who can act upon the world thoughts. I will tell you once again. I think I already said this. Is that women are the vulnerable sex and men are the disposable sex, or the sacrificial sex, I should say. And because one of the reasons why women need soft power is because they're the vulnerable sex. They cannot possibly match men for the physical aspects or the power aspects, the direct, frontal assault, power aspects. So they have to find some way to sort of conquer men, right? Men conquer countries or conquer worlds, and women conquer men. That's basically the fundamentals of it. What else do I got here? I think I got one more. Where'd it go?
I saw it. Yeah, it's got the knocks on it or whatever.
There it is. Yeah, knock. Okay. How common is it for men to have women ask to get them pregnant after knowing them for a short while?
Dude, how do you think they happen?
What's that?
This is all I have ever seen. Everybody I've known has had like a girl baby rabies. Like, you should knock me up.
Breed me.
Yeah. Well, dude, how many guys in a relationship has become the girls kind of cajoled them into it and kind of went along with it?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, it's the girls nagging a guy to settle down, to have kids, and that. This is normal.
You don't know what I think is like really ironic is they
What's
just
that?
passed this law in California against stealthing. Do you know what stealthing is?
Oh, that's what they got WikiLeaks boy for, wasn't it?
It's a guy who whips off the condom in the middle of like mid-stroke or whatever, and then like deliberately has sex with a woman like unprotected, right? I'm like, who the fuck is doing this? Usually it's a woman going, take that thing off. I want to feel you.
Yeah, I've never heard that.
Something like, if it works for the guy, if you're going to put that dude in jail, we got to put the woman in jail for telling him to do the same thing.
I
And
want
then
to meet the guy who did this. Yeah, Assange is the only one I know of that's ever done it, and he does not look like an alpha male.
My God. All right. I want to riff on this a little bit. This is pretty good. We won't go through this whole stream, but I want to look at this
publicly. But for the sake of this episode, I'm going to give it to the people.
Thanks, sir.
Let's talk about this. And if I'm being 100% honest, I was actually going to talk to Kevin Samuels about this. We're going to have a conversation about this. It's a long story. I don't want to get too much into
Not anymore.
it because he's gone. But we're going to talk about this. I wanted to talk to him about this topic because I've been hearing a lot, especially with, shout out to Andrew Tate.
It took a lot of self-control for me not to put TATE in the title of this video, because if you do, you're gonna hit the algorithm.
Also, Ree brought out this conversation about successful men, top tier men, masculine men, alpha men, whatever word you want to use nowadays, how they are going to cheat. And this is a conversation that we are always talking about. So many layers, so much nuance to it.
Yeah.
And I want to give the men a taste of the private conversations among the guys in the standard. Just a taste. Because there's so much to unpack about it. So I'm gonna share a little bit and we'll start a conversation.
It's 3 minutes. He said nothing.
What
I know.
people need to understand
Spit it out, man.
is that there are two ways of living your life.
Only
There
two.
is the natural way and the supernatural way. So for all my religious people, especially all the Christian women or people who are interested in this from a religious perspective, they have to understand there are two natures. Right? Even Sigmund Freud even broke this down.
All right.
Biblically speaking, it's this, they call it the spirit, the flesh, natural, natural, supernatural, id, ego, whatever you want to call it, right? What people have to realize is the world exists in a natural way. Human beings are created by God. So are lions, so are zebras, so are hippopotamuses, so are trees, so are canaries, so are beluga whales. They're all created by God. And they have a natural way of doing things, whether it's because of evolution or because of the fall, whatever it is, this is the way these things work. For the religious guys, there's a supernatural way of doing things.
She's not
Meaning that the Christian, the Holy Spirit, empowers you to live a righteous life. But the natural man does not do what is the right thing to do. The natural man does what he feels. And a natural man does what feels most natural to him. When people are talking about behavior, they have to realize that a lot of behavior that we're ascribing to is supernatural behavior, meaning that you have to instruct people to behave in this manner. But if you let people be natural, they're going to behave this way. I say all that because
Yes,
the
he does.
things that Andrew Tate is now talking about, and many people have talked about, is 100% true. Is 100% true. But there's a lot of nuance. But it is true that in the natural sense, you look through human history,
Yeah.
the men at the time
He's like, come on, get to it.
have multiple women. I'm gonna share two things. So don't wanna
Dude, I
spend
can't
too much
believe you took
time
the stuff that
on
you
my
said
intro.
about like old school harems and that and actually made it
But
long-winded.
most people know the story of
On
Adam.
your dreams a nightmare right now.
Most people know the story about Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve get out of the garden. They had a child, Cain and Abel. Cain kills Abel. Adam and Eve have a child named
I
Seth.
do have a point to
And
this.
then
Trust me.
In Genesis chapter 4,
Let me check.
after Cain killed his brother Abel, it says Cain knew his wife, and she bore Enoch. Enoch bore Irad. Irad bore Mehuiel. Hope I pronounced that right. Mehuiel's father Methuselah, father Lamech. And in verse 19, read what it says about Lamech. Just the first sentence, Joe.
I always see
And
E's
Lamech took
kicking
2
in.
wives.
Took
From
2
the
wives.
beginning.
2 wives. Oh my
The
lord.
guys at the top took multiple women. Israel, the country, is named after the forefather Jacob. Jacob had 2 wives.
Okay,
Leah
keep
and
going.
Rachel,
Keep
and
it up. You can do it.
Rachel.
Jesus
David.
Christ!
Well,
Solomon,
he figures into this too, by the way.
biblically speaking,
My grandfather
what
was
it
a
is.
preacher and he would have finished by now.
What's interesting enough, going back to biblically speaking, is that in Deuteronomy chapter 17,
All right, I'm gonna pull this out because this is just like this is gonna take forever. Okay, now what?
Remember that Simpsons? Like, we used to have an onion on our belt, which was the style at the time.
I know. Well, what gets me is like I'm gonna show you why I put this up here in just a second, but like it comes back to it bakes the brains of guys. Like it's not that's this complicated. Okay, it's really not that. When it comes to polygamy, when it comes to like having multiple wives, blah blah blah. I put this post up, where'd it go, on Instagram, and it has got probably the most responses of any post I have ever put up on Instagram. Okay. This is the biblical marriage question that I put up, but I don't know. I hope you guys can see this. I'll read it out loud to you here. I put this up, and this is the marriage equals. Okay. This came out a while ago. I am not anti-marriage. I am not anti-Christianity or Judaism or Islam or anything. This was not a religious question. Okay. I said this, which form of marriage here, biblical marriage, is the best model? Which do you think? Okay. The first one there is nuclear family. Okay. So you can go and look at all of the differences here. So Genesis, second through, they even quotes it, right? Wives subordinate to their husbands, interfaith marriage is forbidden. Marriage is generally arranged, not based on romantic love. Bride who could not prove her virginity was stoned to death. Okay, that's number one. Number two is man plus wives plus concubines. Now, there's several different examples of this in the Old Testament, of course. Abraham, Gideon, Nahor, Jacob, and they list how many wives they had. Like Abraham had 2 wives, and I believe I want to say it was Sarah, and the other one, somebody will come up with it. Some smart son of a bitch will come up with it. I still don't remember it. Gideon and 2 concubines, right? Gideon, Nahor, Jacob, Eliphaz, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you can go and check that out if you want. Man plus woman's property. So man could acquire his wife's property, including her slaves. This is what rubs the feminists the wrong way. Okay, so this is what they want to say is biblical. Then the next one is polygyny, polygyny, I guess. Man plus woman plus woman plus woman. Okay, there's all kinds of different examples of this. Lamech had 2 wives. Esau had 3. Jacob had 2. Asher had 2. Gideon had many. And then, of course, Solomon had 700. You can look at all the tally of those right there. Then, of course, there is the man plus the brother's widow. So the guy's brother is dead, and now he is biblically bound to marry his wife. Widow who had not borne a son required to marry her brother-in-law must submit sexually to her new husband. Okay. Rapist plus his victim. This is Deuteronomy. Virgin who is raped must marry her rapist. Rapist must pay victim's father 50 shekels of, wow, only 50 shekels. 50 shekels of silver for, what was that? Wasn't it like, wasn't Judas got 30? Gosh, that's inflation. Of silver for property loss. Then male soldiers, prisoner of war. This was in Numbers and Deuteronomy. You guys can go check that out. Male slave plus female slave, Exodus, yada, yada, yada. Now, I know people are going to come at me for this because they are. Don't come at me here in these comments. Go to my Instagram and find this. It's in my post. So you
or just don't come after him.
Or don't.
Just not pick a fight. Try it out. See if
yeah,
you like it.
So I checked this out. And I'm not saying one is the best. I just said, I asked the question, which is the best one? And what happens, of course, is everybody goes, why are you attacking religion? I'm not attacking religion. This is how marriage was done. Certainly in the Old Testament, certainly in the Torah, certainly in the Quran, certainly in other cultures as well. Christianity does not have a monopoly on, one man, one woman, and one man, many women. So, I mean, there's lots of different cultures that never heard of Father Abraham that do exactly the same thing. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to force fit. He's trying to wedge the idea of, men, high value men should cheat. Okay. Now,
see, and I get it too, because finish your thing.
I was going to say, biblically, you could make, and of course, what gets me, and here's the best part, is like, I know
the best part.
I got that, like, because I hit Ruslan on this when I was on the show doing the debate with him. He was very, very complimentary to Andrew Tate, who he thinks is a Greek Orthodox or Eastern Orthodox Christian man.
He did tweet that once, didn't he?
He's searching for Christianity. I'm like, you really think that's for real? Because I can show you posts from like Tristan saying pretty much the same thing, like 2017 or whatever, but you never really see them like walking around with multiple kids, multiple wives, going to church, with a big tall hat, and they're not growing beards like, I would believe Roosh way before I would believe Andrew Tate in this respect. But he's not as flamboyant, right? He's not the top G, he's the top G. I'm the OG.
And you know what gets me though? There's two things about that. One, he's baffling you with bullshit. If he uses enough words, guys will just I tuned out. And so if he started telling me to do something, it'd probably be like a hypnosis trick. But secondly, there's a little bit of truth in there.
It's so slow, I believe it.
Yeah, I get it. Christianity was about imparting a moral system on people in the agricultural revolution so that they stopped just killing each other off and they could have property and build farms and make more Catholics and Christians. Mm-hmm. Nobody disagrees with that. But since the coming of the Industrial Revolution and the Information Age, those same Bronze Age agricultural moral values not only don't work, they actively harm guys. And guys don't need to hear it from you. They were already leaving the church because they just intuitively know the church is selling them a bum set of goods. So why would they listen to this morality when it doesn't affect them?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's the part that he's kind of like, but he's like, no, but it's like 2,000 years old, so you got to follow it. It's supernatural. Yes, I know it was supernatural because the Catholic priests wanted you to farm. And this is the only way they got you to farm is by promising you a wife.
Yeah, on top of everything else. Yeah, I mean, and I said this in the very beginning of that show was like, monogamy has been the, cornerstone of Western society for a long time.
Yeah, because our fuel source was the man's back and his arm. Mm-hmm. But that's the problem. We found oil. We found the internal combustion engine. Productivity and labor aren't connected anymore. So now that we don't need men in that same way. It's why I keep telling you it was freeing. You're not needed. The engine does everything for you. So now these things don't matter. Now you don't get concubines. You don't get this. You don't get that. And we're slowly going to figure out a new way. But
if you are Andrew Tate, or you do get concubines if you're Justin Waller, or you do get concubines if you are a high value man.
Dude, if you have 3 plates and you're dating, you have concubines.
Mm-hmm.
People forget that too. They think concubines are like till death do us part. Remember Muslims? How they do hookers over there? It's like they marry you for an afternoon and then you get you in and you get out.
Short term, yeah.
That's why guys like
I can't. I wish I had Abu America. I've actually had that.
That was the guy.
American.
Remember that he's talking about all of his wives, this and that, but it's not the same way that you're thinking of wife as like a Christian male. For him, wife is like it's basically saying church approved plates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you're going to get these guys lecture you, but they're using a different set of languages than you are. They're using these container words. And so you
here's
hear
what-
like the Muslim wife conversation. You're like, yeah, we got to hold these bitches accountable. He's basically talking the same way the Tinder swindler talked about his chicks.
yeah, more or less. You know,
And
this
guys
is
are
the-
buying it because
yeah,
they want to
exactly.
believe it a certain way, but it's not that way. It never was that way.
Mhm. Well,
Unless you were in the Middle East, I guess.
So here's you know, when I get into these conversations and people think they go, oh, I'm going to corner him ideologically. No, you're not. You're not going to corner him. The very fact that you're mentioning Andrew Tate in the same breath as like biblical polygamy, it just shows me how schnunkered you really are in all of this. Okay, so when
Did any of these guys ever mention Tate before he went and did the
No.
algorithm thing?
No, and in fact, they probably have. If they have, it was when he got like hit with Interpol and he was like, it looked like sex trafficking. Then they want to talk shit about Tate. Now that he's making money hand over fist, and suddenly, oh well, maybe he's a good guy. That's exactly what I said to Ruslan. I was asking these questions. I said, do you really think that that's for real? And you go, oh yeah, I do.
There's one guy who was talking shit about that stupid grift before it got famous. One. I'll give you guys 3 guesses on who it is. This fucking guy.
No.
This guy's dick riding my doom saying, fuck you.
Schnockered. Go look it up. I think it's a German word. Or maybe it's Yiddish. Who knows? It's Schmutz. It's Yiddish. Hey, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, but that's it. They don't believe it either. That's another thing. He doesn't believe this stuff.
It's the latest grift, and that's why I brought it up too. Because
he brought up Tate specifically because for the algorithm, them watching his 5-minute ramble about fucking nothing because he mentioned Potato Head in there, he's gonna get some grift out of it. Good for you, man.
Well, he had done an interview with Patrick Bet David about, I think the day before, and the topic of Tate comes up. Of course it does, because they want to like jump on the algorithm. All it is just good marketing at that point. Yeah. But everybody, like if you would have said if Andrew Tate wasn't making the kind of money he was and wasn't making the kind of impact he was, I mean, hell, he got interviewed by was it Dave Portnoy? Not Mike Portnoy. Dave Portnoy. Not Mike Portnoy, the drummer from Dream Theater. Everybody else hit me on that last time. No, it's Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports. Would not know who Andrew Tate was had it not been for the fact that he's everywhere in the algorithm right now. And so you got Patrick Bet David, and you got like Ruslan, and you got the rest of these guys. There's another guy, I can't remember, some positivity hustler saying the same kind of thing. Like they want to ride on the Andrew Tate train right now. And so they got to say, well, he's making a lot of money, so he must be doing something right. He must actually be an Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox Christian, and he's seeking. Maybe we can change him and convert him or whatever else. And like, when
how
he
did
was
masculinity turn into ass models on Instagram? Like, when did that happen?
Yeah. Well, especially with the red pill right now, because you have so many people. That's why I was saying there's different factions of the red pill. There's like us, like the old school guys who've been doing the manosphere shit for years. Then there's the guys who come in and it's just like they want to, like they're
curating a brand. They're not masculine anything.
So then you got the guys whose grift is to like take the red pill stuff and just like be as outrageous and over the top as they possibly can with it. It's like professional wrestling, and they don't care that, that I'd ever said, women can't really love you. They'll go and say that if it has effect and it gets them more eyes on the screen, right?
Hey, isn't that the definition of womanese?
Yes. And then
that was exactly.
Okay. So you have old school guys who did the groundwork for years and years. Then you have the guys who are just like sort of jumping into it because it's the new hotness on YouTube and social media. Then you got guys like Hafiz. And Hafiz is the guy who's like, oh, I don't know, licking the ice cream and it's the counter. It's like the anti-red pill, but the anti-red pill. And so like he can't help but acknowledge that Andrew Tate must be doing something right because he's worth $100 million or whatever he's worth right now. But they go, but let me throw my spin on here and like put his name in the title here so I can get some play off of it as well. Trust me, if he had been a big deal because of like human trafficking or some other scam, they would not have it. They wouldn't even have him on the show. They wouldn't even be talking about this. Right. Kevin Samuels. Right. Kevin Samuels was out there. I think Kevin Samuels' intent and his heart was in the right place when it came to this stuff. But you got Hafiz and you got the rest of these guys coming at Kevin or at Fresh and Fit or me or whoever, Tate, whoever. And it's like the grift is anti-red pill. Like to say, well, it's not really about this. So then you get guys like Hassan. Then you get guys like, thank you very much.
Dude, I can't even keep track. I don't know how you manage it. I really don't.
It's hard for me, man. It's like I don't know what the next hit's gonna be, where the next hit's coming from, because I got Tate out there and he's like talking shit to like people who are connected to like Ethan Klein and H3 and Hassan and all these other guys who are really big names. And people go, hey, did you see what Tate said on Aiden Ross's show? I'm like, who the fuck is Aiden Ross? And then I got to go figure out, and here's why I don't know. The guy's like got 5 million subs. And I'm like, how did I not know this? Because I don't run in that fucking circle, but Tate does because he's the new hotness and they want to hit back at Tate. So that's why I said the red pill should not go mainstream, because of exactly where we are right now. It
Dude, do you remember that?
It debases the actual real like work that has been done for in my sense, is like 20 some odd years. Yeah. I'm not glossing myself. I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just telling you what it's like right now.
Dude, it's like you're wearing it as a skin suit. What was that tweet? It was a political one. Remember that chick? She was running for Congress or something, twerking upside down, like the big broad. That's all I can think about when you're telling about the brand red pill this, the brand red pill that. I think of that chick working for your votes.
You need to use that as a meme after the show.
I might have to. We're running. I can only use the peach so much.
Yes, that's too funny. But I was just gonna say that. So that's sort of the grift that's going on at this point. But I think what's fascinating to me is like you want to put it there, try to force fit it into this religious sense. That's why I put that out on Instagram, and people just lost their shit because they're like, "Oh, he's shitting on religion." I just asked a question. Well, how can you call yourself a Christian? I do. I still am. I'm just saying, what do you think of this? Like this.
I like how you just describe the Bible, and they're like, "Why are you shitting on religion?" You're like, "Dude, it's right there."
I asked one question. One question. I didn't say, "Oh, this is how hypocritical." I didn't say that. You guys have presumed that's my intent. That's not my intent. He doesn't know the Bible. Let me tell you about, the New Testament. Oh, I know it. I'm asking you, what do you think of all of this, right? I'm not trying to make a biblical case for polygamy or anything else. But here's the thing. Now, here's what I could have said, and I couldn't because I don't have enough time, and I don't have enough. I can't get a word in edgewise with Jedediah. But when that topic comes up, like polygamy or like should men be able to cheat? Okay, well, what you're really saying is, should the high value guy that you want to get with, like the guy that was in that article we just saw, like the one that got away, should that high value guy be able to cheat? Should that guy, because he's so fucking high value, 25 years later, still high value, still the lick in the ice cream, that guy, should he be able to cheat? And it's not should, it's that he can. That's what I mean.
Well, should implies a judgment. Like, who's the judge of this ultimately?
That's best practices, and that is a practice, or that is a should, not an is. That is a prescription, not a description. And I will probably go to my grave. I'll probably etch this into my headstone. As I deal in descriptions, not prescriptions. And like, because the moment you probably have dealt with this too. The moment you go on any show, the moment I come on here and I hit the music and everything else, and I get into it and everything, people think that I am giving advice. I am not giving advice. My books are not advice. My essays, my blog is not advice. I've never referred to myself as an influencer, even though I probably am. People would probably argue that. But the moment you go on, the moment you open your mouth, everyone in the world, especially your competitors and your haters, will say the same thing. Well, his philosophy is this. His advice is this.
His ideology is this. Yeah.
His should is this. No, fuckwit. It is not. It is a description, and God damn it is so hard to make the distinction between ideology, philosophy, and should versus a praxeology, and this is what is. Okay? What you do with that is all entirely on you. Like, you could go and say, well, like Andrew Tate, like was it I think it was Myron say a high value man should cheat. I didn't say should. Myron said should, but he's using the same is that I came up with, and then is going and saying this is best practice.
That's
right?
what you got to do. Like, remember that incels do the same thing. If you're not 6 feet tall, no girl will talk to you. Well, maybe if it's 6'1", and then they finally they're like, now if you're not 6'8", just kill yourself. And you're just like, everybody has to go one up. And you know what? Here, you called me what, the doomsayer? I'm going to call you Socrates.
You're the doomsayer. Well, not that.
And the reason I'm going to call you Socrates is because you remember that I am the wisest man alive, because I know one thing, and that's nothing. That's all he did, is what you did here with the religion. He asked guys what they thought, And then he asked them how well thought out their beliefs were, and he found out that nobody knew what the hell they were talking about.
And no one
that's
ever
essentially what you
questions
just
their
did there.
epistemology. Yeah.
Yeah. They're talking about how godly is this, godly is that. You're like, okay, so here's 7 quotes. Like, is this the stuff you're about? And if not, does that mean we get to pick and choose? If so, why did you pick and choose? And their only response to that is to call you a dick. And then say you hate women. And then ask for a spot at the 21 convention.
So let's future forecast a little bit here. Okay. So the reason why I brought this up is because the reason why this is so agitating is because there are, as we said before, if you do the value calculator for the guy, those guys who can do that, like that, Andrew Tate's, the guys who can be high value enough that they could cheat, right? They don't want a man to cheat, but they love a man who could cheat. Those guys are a fraction of 1% of the population. Okay. That's number one. So there's the selection bias and saying, oh, if you're going to tell me not all women are like that, but yet you're going to tell me that, oh, all these guys are out there licking the fucking ice cream. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. Cause that's exactly the same bias that you're talking about right there. Oh, you know what? Not all men are like that either. And you're all pissed off because you think that those one individual guys are out there ruining your poor hapless little girl who was, complicit and complacent in her own seduction by the guy licking the fucking ice cream.
That's like every guy who responds to some thoughterly post. And she bitches about her man. Well, not all men are like that. I would never be like that. Those little MRA quoters. Yeah.
No, don't give me this bullshit about like, oh, they hand select and hand pick all those girls in Brickell because they're all ratchet ass 304s and not all women are like that. Guess what? If you're going to use that logic, you don't get to use the logic of, oh, there's so many guys out there sinisterly going, how can we lick the ice cream? Just
don't think about it too much. If you think about it too much, it stops making sense. So just follow me. I'll make you feel something, and then I'll make you feel another thing, and then buy my merch, and then I'm going to make you feel some more stuff.
Yes.
Don't you want to feel a real man would feel?
Yes. And then, of course, what they want is this. They want men to be better men. Be a better man. Be a better man. Be a high value guy. Be like that guy. But don't cheat, even though you could cheat. Be the kind of guy who could, but don't. Right? But the reason
man, how does that benefit being better?
Exactly. That's what I was getting at. And thank God I got that one in the debate was I said, look, when women want men to be better men, or they want men to be more responsible and all this other shit, they're not interested in bettering the condition of that man. They're interested in creating a guy who's a better fit for women because they can't find that guy. That's why it's male self-improvement from the female side has nothing to do with the man. It has everything to do with the woman. So they want you to get more responsible, get right with God, be a high value guy, work out, don't be fat, get your money on money muscles game, right? Do all that stuff. You know why? Not for you, because she needs that, because she can't find that. It's all about her, solving her problems by you getting better.
And the TradCon guys too, same thing. They don't want the world to be better for you. They want you to make it better and make all the sacrifices for their children to live in a better world. Right. It's all just convincing everybody that what I want is in your best interest, but without offering anything.
Right.
Now, this is what gets me the most, because you're like, oh, I'm going to rant a bit. Like, you're like mental point of origin. Do what's best for you, right? So if these people want you to save the West or stop doing this for women, like, what are they offering you in return? What's in it for you? They never offer anything. They just tell you you're going to be a good boy.
It's your duty.
Is like,
it's your honor. Yeah, your integrity.
Exactly. Well, you know what? You didn't create this mess. And I think it's completely disingenuous, kind of a prick move, to be honest, to look at some 23-year-old guy who got born into this nonsense saying, here, my dad and my brothers and me, we all fucked this up, and you need to fix it for me because it's your fault, and these girls are like this because of you. It's like, screw you, man. These poor bastards. And the thing is, these kids, I call them kids. They're in their 20s now and maybe even their 30s. These kids deserve better. They deserve to have a dad show them what things were really like. They deserved having a mom who kept dad around to show him, here's how you get a girl. This is how you keep your mother. There's going to be things they complain about. It's not important, but they were all kicked out. They were kicked out of school. You never saw them when you were growing up in school. You never saw it from dad because mom left him because she felt different. You never saw it in the church because they kicked all the dads out of church. So now you're like an 18-year-old kid who's never had anything but women telling him what to do. And now you're up in this situation where finally there's a masculine man who works out and tells you how to live your life. And what does he do? He just parrots the same crap that your single mom did for the last 18 years, making things not even not helping you, making them worse. Because
Right.
all you're going to do is get into that current cycle of resentment where you do all the good things to be a good boy and save the West. You get no reward for it. In fact, you get punished for it because you get to watch the girl you were interested in go suck off the drug dealer. And then you get angry. And then what do? Well, I don't know. You're probably going to pull an Elliot Rodger and write a manifesto. Then what happens? They throw you under the bus because you didn't do it right.
Wow.
And I hate this. And all of this stupid circus nonsense. And they don't realize that they're not only part of the problem, they're a big part of the problem. And that's why I shitpost. And that's why I talk mad shit about all these people.
You're
Just like,
the
fuck you.
doomsayer. That's why you're Voltaire of the you're the Voltaire of the manosphere.
Aw, this too will pass, motherfucker.
You know, I love, you know, what's funny is that
What's that?
it's funny because I think there's like some positivity hustlers or some Christian positivity hustlers. I think you probably heard this. Like they said, there are no monuments or no statues dedicated to critics. I'm like, I call up a picture of the statue of Voltaire. I go, Voltaire disagrees with you.
Yeah.
You're playing, motherfucker. Let me see if I can bring this all full circle before we move. I got to get to some more super chats here, but I think one of the problems with this whole thing with Hafiz, and I don't want to just pick on Hafiz, although he's like I said, he's low hanging fruit, but there's a lot of other guys that do the same thing. They want to say, well, shame on you men for not being responsible enough to be great for these women who are all, you know, getting their ice cream licked, right, by dark triad guys, you know, that they want.
That's such an innuendo. I like that.
Yeah. Well, so you probably heard me mention this book before. It's called Alpha God by Dr. Hector Garcia.
Mm-hmm. It's on my list. I promise I will get to it.
It should be at the top of your list. I mean, people ask me, what's your reading list, Rollo? That would be one of the top 5 for sure, is Alpha God. And Dr. Hector Garcia is most definitely, you got to get past, he has to get past himself as far as his like feminist street cred is concerned, because he writes from sort of this pro-female perspective. He's one of these guys I get real frustrated with. He has all this forensic evidence. He has all this data. He does all this research. And then the final chapter is, but I'm a feminist and please don't cancel my tenure. Yeah. So it's good information. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because I used him as a resource in book 4, which was about religion. And one of the things he was talking about, and this was where this comes from, is that high value men, powerful men throughout history, not just in the Old Testament, in every culture, the Yanomamo tribesmen and wherever the hell they are, the Amazon rainforest tribal chieftain does exactly the same thing as the king, as the emperor of dynastic China and the Forbidden City. It does all. You look at powerful men throughout history, and it doesn't matter what the culture is. You'll find that they're defined by 3 things: territory, resources, and access to a lot of virginic women to reinsure that their DNA is going to go on into perpetuity, right?
Make the babies, right? And usually it's that harem is guarded by eunuchs whose dicks have been cut off. So to know that they're not mating with the girls in the harem, right? So when you look at like the powerful men throughout history, that's one thing. Yeah, what he does is he compares that to primate troops, right? Like silverback gorillas, chimpanzees, bonobos, macaque monkeys, whatever it is, like from the smallest monkey to like the biggest monkey. Okay, all of them do the same thing, right? There's an alpha male, and he has a harem of females until the other alpha male is deposed by some other alpha male, or the coalition of beta males tear him down, literally tear him apart limb from limb. Yeah. And then what happens is usually from that coalition, another alpha arises out of that and he becomes the new alpha, or else another rival alpha comes in, kills him off, and he becomes the new alpha. And then what happens is he goes and he kills off all the progeny and all the offspring of the previous alpha who was in charge of everything, and to make sure that all his kids and all his DNA dies and his goes into perpetuity. And the reason, and how does that affected? Because once all those kids are killed in that infanticide, then all of the females in the troop go into estrus immediately after that. So, and isn't this what made Cro-Magnon the more successful primate? Was that the alpha guy realized that like 3 betas can team up and get him, so he kind of realized the spirit. Get together, collaborate. Everybody gets some women. Yeah, he gets the first cut of meat and the hottest chicks, but he's also the first one in danger.
And you can also make that case as to why monogamy works better for human society than it does for, like, alpha male comes in, kills off all the babies and has sex with only those women, and you don't get shit, right? Yep. The only access that beta males get in that troop is when that woman, when that
Eat what they
female
kill.
is, when that female is not in estrus and the chances of having the child or the baby is much lower. That's the nuts and bolts of it. Okay. And it's not just monkeys, by the way, too, like lions. He was mentioning lions and other animals, other higher mammals, I guess, do much the same thing. Right. So, but we're promiscuous by nature, but we're monogamous by necessity, really, and monogamous by choice, because the human species would not be the apex species on this planet if we did not invest in our own children, because
we weren't tough. We didn't have claws. All we had were big brains and communication. That was it.
We rely on our intellect, such as it is.
And that was the scarcity thing. We're not scarce anymore. And so that's why it's all kind of weird and people are having a hard time wrapping their heads around it.
Yes. But still, we have the legacy of kill off all the babies and let the women go into estrus, right? There's all kinds of when you said there's the natural world, well, this is the natural world that we're talking about here. And the problem is that for centuries, if not, millennia, monogamy has worked pretty well for the human race. Certainly Western civilization is a result of having, beta males have at least the belief that there's someone for everyone. There's that perfect soulmate out there for me. And if they, even that bit of hope, whether it's materializes or doesn't, the idea that there's some perfect woman out there that you can marry and have children with, at least that sort of keeps that guy in the cycle and he's productive and he'll go to war and he'll farm the land and he'll do this because there's an idea that he's going to be able to solve his reproductive problem. Now, in the 21st century, all that shit is out the window, courtesy of social media, the internet, and hormonal birth control. And that's why we're having this conversation right now. Because what Hafiz is agonizing over, what Jedediah is agonizing over, what Ruslan is agonizing over, and God knows how many other moralists are agonizing over, is the fact that we're still clinging to old order 20th century ways of thinking about monogamy, thinking about marriage, in the face of the fact that it is not the guy licking the fucking ice cream. It is the women who want to get with the ice cream licker in the first place. It is reverting back to that sort of polygamy of the Old Testament. But it's not guys, it's not fiendish ice cream licking guys who are instigating this. It's the women who are instigating this because they got no use for guys like Hafiz. They got no use for guys like Ruslan. They got no use for guys who are beta male providers who in the past might have been really good catches because they needed them. They don't need that shit anymore. They don't need men. They want men. And who do they want? The fucking ice cream licker over and over and over again. And what happens is those beta males go, oh, my girl won't fuck me like she did back at the, in Cancun, the foam cannon party on spring break. She makes rules for me, but she broke rules for that guy in the fucking, petrol station that she's still pining over after 25 years. She doesn't want to fuck Cornell the way that she wants to go back and fuck that guy that she had when she was 17 years old. That's the fucking problem, Hafiz. It's not the fiendish ice cream licker. It's the women who want to get with the fiendish ice cream licker in the first place.
It's the cardinal rule of relationships. If I'm not mistaken, isn't that yours?
Yeah, exactly.
Who wants each other the worst there? He doesn't want, whatever, dude bro doesn't want her. She wants him. The guy who does want her, she doesn't want him. Oh, well, my girlfriend doesn't treat me as well as she treated him, and you're putting up with it. So what does that say as far as an incentive goes? Wow, I don't have to have sex with him with this much intensity, and you'll still stick around and pay the bills? Great.
Yeah.
You can't blame her. She's just getting away with what you let her get away with. Women will act as shitty as you let them.
She'll go back to Cornell, she'll fuck Cornell, and she'll think about that dude.
And here's the part that I like, dudes, if you're that guy who won't put up with that shit, these problems don't happen to you. And I don't mean you'll kick her to the streets and then you'll get a good one. It's that the girls that are worried about losing you don't do dumb shit. That's like a mate retention. There's mate retention strategies.
Yep.
There's so many of them. Blowjobs.
And mate retention. You should, we need to apply that.
Yeah, the reason that she doesn't blow you, but she would blow him is because he's got one foot out the door. And if she wants to keep him, her limbic brain's like, dude, you better step up your whole game. But
5
for you,
minutes of alpha,
he's already got you.
5 years of beta. That's why, what is it, at the end of Titanic, when Rose is 100 years old and she drops the diamond to the bottom, dramatically drops the diamond to the bottom of the sea. My heart will go on. She's not thinking about the guy who funded her life, playing Amelia Earhart and, riding English horses and having this great life and her grandchildren around her in her last days and her last moments. She's not thinking about that guy. She's not thinking about Cornell. She's thinking about, Jack at the bottom of his icy grave in the bottom of the ocean right there.
Oh, dude, even Terminator 2. People love when I ruin this. Greatest sci-fi of all time. It's the story about a chick who was alpha widowed by a dead guy, finding the perfect step-husband, sacrificial step-husband to take care of the kids.
It is true.
You're not going to look at Arnie the same way again.
And, here's the thing. It's like, and I'm an asshole for bringing this up. I'm the asshole for showing you that here it is. Am I wrong? Come on, tell me I'm wrong.
Plato's Cave.
Because apparently the writers of the Titanic, which came out in 1997, they were on board with that archetype way before I was around. I mean, allegory of the cave, exactly.
Honestly, I think they're right. They're angry at you because you're right, and that's the worst part.
Well,
and I don't want to accept it. What was that meme you put out? They weren't ready to accept the truth. From the little biblical cartoon. They just told you to shut up.
Oh yeah. That was good. When Rollo preached, they didn't want to believe him, and I said, so like hypergamy doesn't care. I was like, shut up.
But I mean, we all kind of know that if you say the truth, like something that's true, but you're not wanting to hear it, of course you're going to get mad at the guy. I want to believe in my little fantasy. I don't want to believe this is true. I want to suffer, but I want to blame somebody else. That's why they always blame it. It's always got to be like the weirdest convoluted group. It's the ice cream lickers. It's like, really? Is there, like you even said, how many ice cream lickers are there? There's like, what, 0.2%? Yeah. You guys are treating it like they're the reason why all the women in Ohio don't want to touch you.
Ruined my girl. She would be fucking me like a porn star if it hadn't been for Justin Waller banging her when she was 22.
And they have the balls to say that the guys watching porn are the problem. It's like, dude, at least their porn, they turn it off at the end. You have kept yours on 24/7. You're living the porn.
And yet, and you know what? Here's the kicker in all this. So we're leaning back towards this sort of it's the real world, right? We're leaning back towards this polygamy, whatever, one man, many women. But it's not the guys that are initiating it. It is the women, because the men that they want to get with are so few and so scarce. And we can go and look at the stats, courtesy of the calculator. We can go see that live in real time. There it is. And they're the ones saying, yes, I will share the alpha male. So what was it? I believe it was Pook who said, you know Pook, I know Pook, but everybody else listeners have no idea who Pook is. Pook said this, is that women would rather share an alpha male, a successful alpha male, or even non-successful these days, share an alpha male than be saddled with a faithful loser, right? And because they got no use for that beta male guy, or have less use, and the perception is they don't need those guys. I don't need a man. I'm independent, a strong independent man. From what?
They don't.
From men.
Like, what do they need?
But I want a man. I have my emotional investments. I really want to have sex with that guy. I really want to be emotionally connected to that guy. I want to have the roller coaster ride of that guy. But those guys are so few and far between that they are like, by hook or by crook, they're going to be sharing that guy. Whether it's like you had your turn and now you're gonna move on. They always say, was it it's not your she's not yours.
It's your turn.
Well, the same thing applies to a guy like Justin Waller, a guy who's Jason Momoa, whoever, like the top shelf guy, the 4.5%ers. It's just your turn, ladies. And unless he's spinning multiple plates and he's doing what Andrew Tate and Myron and everybody else and Kevin Samuels says, you should cheat. I don't think that you should cheat, by the way. I think that if you're going to make a commitment, if you're going to be monogamous, you say, hey, look, here's the deal. I'm only going to be with you. You better fucking do that. Right. I don't think that's a negotiable, but you shouldn't enter into that contract in the first place if you're one of the 4.5%ers to begin with. Like, why would you do that? I want to main and I want to have access to lots of other women. Why?
It's overly complicated is the problem.
Women, like, why go through all the rigmarole and have that like sort of, a sort of Damocles hanging over your head because maybe you knocked her up, or maybe like, she's really into you and she's the one who's sort of putting up with you until such time as she thinks she can lock you down. Right? Why not just simply spin plates? Is that not more pragmatic? Is that not the simpler answer?
Dude, I'm with you. I don't understand that one either. Like, it's a mixed message. If you want to settle down and be monogamous, be monogamous. If you don't want to be, don't. I don't understand why people do both. Best answer I've ever gotten is like, well, you have to look like you're married to keep up appearances. But I'm like, then who are you validation seeking for anyway? And why are you destroying lives to do it? I don't know.
Yeah. The
For
same
me, it's
people
just
who,
like it's a lot of effort.
the same people who tell you need to keep up appearances are the same people who go, don't care about what anybody says about you or thinks about you. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. If that's what you think, you know.
Yeah.
God. Anyways, let me get to some of these supers here real quick. I got a bunch of them come in.
You got some good ones too.
Yeah, I did. Black Blur. God, these names. I wonder what Hafiz's opinion on Isaiah 4. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man. Yeah. That's King James Version, of course. Words not mine. Okay. Well, yeah. There are so many different like instances of polygamy, and certainly in the Old Testament. Now, people say, well, in the New Testament, Jesus Christ said that, we're all going to go back to, one man, one woman. I'm like, where is that exactly? I'm curious. I'm not trying to shit on anybody. I'm just saying, where exactly is that? Because people are saying, well, then there's the New Testament. And like, what, okay, maybe
I like Christianity. Yeah, take an already pre-existing want and like fit parts of the Bible in there to make it fit.
Funny how that it didn't take place during Jesus' time. It took place like right after the Council of Nicaea, right? When they were like codifying all of this, and they go, well, maybe we should get all these guys on the farm and they should all fight for us. So how about we one man, one woman? Works better. Natural man. What is the meaning of that? Yeah. You know what that is? Sorlita. You know what that is? That is the naturalistic fallacy, is what it is. Is the natural way the best way to be, right? Remember what the three great fallacies are? It's the blank slate, the naturalistic fallacy, and the ghost in the machine. Let's see, what else? Under My Thumb by the Rolling Stones is a Red Pill song. I guess it is. Yeah, it kind of is. It kind of is.
Slaps, that's good enough.
Yeah. I mean, and look who wrote it, right? I mean, at a different time. Mr. Salsa, I'm 99.9% certain one of Mr. Cornell's kids is named after Mr. X. It's funny how we never get the guy's name. We never get the guy in the petrol station. We never get his name. I brought this up, by the way. I brought it up with Leia Halpern. I said,
how do you find these people?
One of the greatest little gold nuggets, or red pill gold nuggets, is having like these instances of seeing how women will name their children after the alpha that they're widowed from. So if the guy's name was Mike and she's with the guy, why do you want to name him Mike? I don't know, no reason. Come to find out from the sister or from like her old, college friends that Mike was the guy she used to go, have, threesomes with and freaking.
See, that's just rude, man. Why do you got to dance in the end zone? You got your touchdown. Just take your win and leave. Such a bad winner, man.
Yeah. Well, and then I'm the asshole for bringing that up. I was like, I just work here, man. I'm just reporting the news. This is a tendency. This is a trend. Really? Yes.
Just rubbing it in.
You've been reading in my mind today, Rollo. Hi, Sarah. How are you? Sarah's my love. She's one of my sister wives.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Sarah. Sarah, this is Ryan. Rollo just read Dune. Amazing. Strat or Gibson? He was between
Ibanez.
wall just for you today, because I know how you give me shit, by the way. Oh, and by the way, that's the Phil Collins photograph one from the back in the 80s that I am teasing Kevin Savo with these days, because he thinks that I think that Phil Collins sucks.
The right answer for that is Gibson, by the way.
Yes, I agree. I think between the two, probably Gibson.
Hey, Les Paul or SG?
For me?
Yeah.
SG.
Or are you one of the arch top types with the fire?
No. If I had to explore, really, but I would say if I had to choose between those two, I would say SG, because I like it's the.
That's why we're friends, I think.
It's a devil guitar. It's a devil's guitar. Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath used to play an SG quite a bit, or still does play.
Didn't what's his face from AC/DC also?
Oh yeah, Angus. Angus had an SG. I'm trying to think who else. I can only think of like SG players as like Tony Iommi and Angus Young. Rollo, okay, so thank you very much. Thank you for that guitar question, my friend. It's refreshing. Funny to watch these moralists panic about guys becoming aware, but ignore the amount of women that are exhibiting the behaviors the red pill exposes. Yes, they don't want to hold women accountable.
They'd screw that up too.
Yeah, they
talk nothing for 10 minutes about that too.
Oh, Sarah, you again. Oh, do I have to give you Sarah? This is Sarah.
Hey, y'all.
There you go. I am still pissed at the fiendish ice cream makers. I'm not saying they don't exist. And I'm not saying that they won't piss you off, just like the petrol guy. But yeah, they're probably not as prevalent as Hafiz would like
twirling their mustaches, tying girls to train tracks.
They need an outsider that ruined their girl for them, when in fact it's like they don't want to point the finger at the girl who decided to give it up to them and have kids with them. They want,
and as a brand too, that's 100% brand building. Build another, knock down the other, and that builds in-group loyalty. Yeah, you guys are being branded too hard with this shit.
Mm-hmm. Polygamous societies are inherently unstable. Yes, they are. There's an economist essay or some article about that, where they did the study on like societies that were monogamists and those that were polygamists, and the polygyny, the multiple wives societies tend to be more war-torn. Yes. Therefore, may we deduce that unrestrained hypergamy will eventually destroy the American society? You're soaking in it right now.
Yeah. Did it destroy the Middle East? Does anybody remember Arab Spring?
Yeah. All those guys that couldn't get pussy, and they had no job and they had no prospects. So let's go fuck things up.
People forget that, man. That was like the original incel. There was a female bylaw officer, knocked over his fruit cart, took his entire livelihood, like embarrassed him, and then he had. And this is the worst part. He didn't go out and attack anybody. He lit himself on fire. That's how emasculated the guys were there. And the country just lit up.
Yeah. And
Saudi Arabia had to kill a lot of beta males after that.
Let me also explain something to you as well. It's like when you look at like what happened in the Arab Spring and you understand that U.S. influence like triggered that, they had to know that dynamic could be triggered in those countries.
That's why the ethanol subsidies were there? Like,
just saying, they know this shit.
Yeah.
Yep. So I've got some other shit on here too, but I wanted to, since I got you here, do you have any more time?
I got more than enough time for you.
Okay, all right.
You're the alpha that got away from me.
All right, I got one more video that I want to look at, but I also want to bring this one up because I have never brought this up on any show, and it's old school Royce, and it's not the 16 Commandments of Poon, but as you know, and I've said on this show a million other times, is that these things come in cycles. Okay, so
you're gonna bring up triteness of hating, aren't you?
Triteness of hating, right? This is because it's great humor too. It's just great freaking content. So, the kind of hating that we have to deal with today hasn't changed for millennia. It has been around since the dawn of time. So all the hate that you throw at me or Ryan or anybody else, guys, and I've been getting a lot of it recently for whatever reason, I'm used to it. Rolo, how can you be so Teflon and just let this stuff roll off your back? Because I have been dealing with it for 20 some odd years, and I see it come over and over and over again. And in fact, it is so common and so predictable that our good friend Royce, way back in, I want to say it's 2009, wrote a seminal essay called The Unbearable Triteness of Hating. Okay. So I'm going to show you the unbearable triteness of hating. So when you throw hate at me, look at this, bookmark this, haters, look at this and say, which one of these am I really kind of hitting on right here? So let me bring this up. We'll share the screen. This is so good. I know.
I can't wait for the muff line.
You know, you and I are still familiar with the old school stuff. And like, I think when we like make references, people go, what the fuck are they talking about? And it's like, well, this is it right here. When we talk about Pook or we talk about, we make Royce references. These are the archives. Royce's Chateau Heartiste does not produce any more new content. Okay, so it's 2010. So this is 12 years old, guys. Just so
and
you know.
It was old hat back then.
And remember, this is 12 years old then, but it came from probably about a good 6 years of hate before these were identified. So this is the unbearable triteness of hating. Okay, after 3 years. Sorry, after 3 years of doing this blog, a wearisome, predictable in types of hate, a wearisome predictability in types of hate becomes apparent. The unoriginal uniformity of this hate is its most intriguing feature, as it makes one wonder whether humans come pre-installed with a mindset that executes in scripted patterns when certain sensitive buttons are pushed, or if the hater all gather in secret hateasonic temples under the Capitol building to agree upon an approved suite of category hateration. So these are like, I won't read the whole thing. This is what he comes up with. So these are number one. Number one is bitter beta hate. And this is the hater. You are a bitter misogynist. Translations. Your words make me weep from every pore. Number two, expectation bias hate. Hater. No one who writes the horrible things you do or says the horrible things you do could possibly do well with women. Back in Genghis Khan's day, haters were known to remark, no one who crushes as many enemies as you could possibly do well with women. Which is funny because this was prior to the genetic information that we know now, which is Genghis Khan is like 1 in every 200 men on planet Earth.
Yep.
Is a direct genetic descendant of Genghis Khan. All right. Number three, moving the alpha goalposts hater. A real alpha male would be married and raising children as his legacy. This is very interesting. Alphaness required to marry the typical girl and knock her up. Minimal. Alphaness required to avoid the raw deal of marriage and the fun-hindering ballast of children while enjoying the love of many women in long-term relationships. Sniff my jockstrap.
That's such an 80s reference.
I know. Yeah. But I think this is funny because this is where it kind of gets a little serious. Like you're always going to hear you're a bitter misogynist. Okay, whatever. You can't really, there's not really a response to that other than that's just your opinion, bro. Mm-hmm. And then funny that they use misogynist. And then of course, nobody who writes horrible things could possibly do well with women. We hear that all the time. Have you ever met a real woman, Rolo? And then there's the alpha goalpost one. And this is really good because it kind of relates to what we've been talking about all episode long here, is that a real alpha male would be married and raising children as his legacy. This is exactly the starting point that I came from with Ruslan. It's like, I get this all the time. So when trads come at me and they go, he can't be married, he's red pill, or he can't be married, he's, or red pill, he's married, right? This is that half of the equation, which is, well, I've been married for 26 years. My daughter's 24 years old. She's got her master's degree. She graduated magna cum laude. I have pretty much an ideal marriage. So what is that? What do you have to say? Well, the only other side of this is, well, he shouldn't be giving advice because he's married, right? Okay, well, what is it? What makes me alpha? Being married and raising children? Or is it being a freewheeling Andrew Tate guy who's spinning plates and saying, fuck the world?
It's almost like they're just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see which one gets you to shut up and make their brand worth millions.
And that's exactly what I said. I made that very clear in the Ruslan talk, which was, I said, okay, look, who's more alpha? Because we're like, he and I are in the same boat. Like, he's got kids. He's been married for 14 years, been together 18. Thank you for reinstating that. But and I've been married for 26. I've got kids. Does that make us alpha? Does that make us like pro-social alphas? And so therefore people should respect us and listen to our advice, whatever that happens to be. Should we be influencers from that perspective because we're living we're walking the walk, right? We're talking the talk and walking the walk. Should we not?
You got receipts.
Right. Or am I the beta and is Ruslan the beta, and is any moralist who decides that marriage and children are the the prerequisite for alpha, are you actually the beta because you're not living the lifestyle like Andrew Tate? And they can never answer that.
Yeah, what would you like me to do in order that I can be your
what do I have to be? And I hate it too because they're like, that's not very alpha. Oh, okay, because I'm
Let
not
me
really
pander to that asshole.
I'm not trying to be alpha. And I love how that's like a qualifier now, right? Mm-hmm. 4, straw hate. Hater. Oh, yeah. Here's the hater. You argue a false alpha beta dichotomy. What part of dregs, lesser omega, lesser beta, beta, greater beta, lesser beta, alpha, super alpha don't you understand? Now, this is a link to another article he has. When people come at me and they go, Rollo, you're not much of an alpha. Why do you call yourself an alpha? I have never call myself an alpha beyond anything other than the sort of like being satirical, right? I call myself a lesser alpha from that list. That's where that comes from. Okay.
I love that dig, by the way, that he makes it like he encapsulates how like kind of overly verbose and like over complex that it needs to be. Just as like, how do you not get this, you dumbass?
Yeah, I know.
Like he gets it.
Yeah, it's not hard to figure out. Okay, these are the better ones here, though. Etymology hate. Hater. Your definition of an alpha male is false. Okay. In the animal kingdom, the alpha male is the leader of the pack, not a cad, bad boy jerk who pumps and dumps women. Isn't it just like the nerd to get hysterical over the appropriation of a narrow sense scientific term to conveniently illustrate broader truths about men and women? If you ever wondered where I came up with the idea of how alpha and beta are abstractions, they're abstract terms, it is from that law, that rule right there. That's where I got that. Okay, because that's what alpha and beta are. They're not designations, they're abstractions, so that we can talk about bigger concepts as a result of this. Okay, but what happens is, and you probably seen me do these episodes before, where some woman, especially like female women, like, girl haters, love this one because they'll go, alpha means the wolves on the Arctic tundra or your silverback gorillas, and you guys think that your alphas in the same way senses as silverback gorillas. And I'm like, no. But they want to say that there's no. We've already debunked the idea. Even the guy who created the term alpha has completely disowned it. I'm like, well, that's fine, but that's not how we use it. And so that's where the etymology comes from, which is the meaning of the word, right? Okay.
They forget alpha is just used everywhere. Alpha waves for communications, everything. Anyways, yeah.
I have done an episode on this as recently as this year, as the definition of alpha and beta and sociosexual hierarchies and all that good stuff. So this is 2010, and I'm still talking about this shit in 12 years later. This should tell you how predictable and endemic this really is.
I've yet to see an 11th. These 10 ones here are the only ones I've ever seen.
Yep. Unironic, and then number 6, unironic internet smear hate. Alphas don't blog or have videos, whatever. They're too busy meeting women, okay? Because, alphas don't have hobbies. Eye roll. Alpha eye roll. P.S. Feel free to log off the internet anytime because you are actually on the internet to noticing this in the first place.
Yeah.
Number 7, the political is personal hate. I like this one. The hater says, a true alpha lives the life. He does not neurotically obsess about his status on an internet blog or online social media. Other than in a facetious way, I don't think I have ever written about my own status, neurotically or otherwise, on this blog. Instead, I simply speak the truth about the world as it is and give advice about attracting women that has worked for me and many other men. People who are offended by that decide I must be revealing my inner neuroses and obsessions, for any other explanation would surely pucker their sphincters. These people are best suited for careers as butt plug testers. And so minus the humor here, I think this is probably one of the more important ones because it's this idea of this, because you're obsessively talking about this. What kind of guy is Rollo Tomassi? Because he's written 5 books about sex. All he ever thinks about is sex. All he thinks about is like intersexual dynamics. All he talks about is red pill this and red pill that. And, and so there must be something really weird about him to dedicate his life for the last, 20 some odd years to doing this. It's like, no, dude, it's just, it's not like some horrible event that happened in my past, right? It's the who hurt you hate is what it is. And usually that's
a job.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, I just fucking work here. I just do this because it seems to be like something that the world fucking needs, right? It's not because I had some horrible, traumatic experience in my past that turned, like, have you got this question before, Ryan? Have you had, like, guys say, Ryan, when was your red pill moment? When were you red pilled? Because it's a verb.
Oh,
now.
Yeah, a little bit, but I wave that off. I hate the Batman origin stuff.
Yeah.
It's like you have to constantly relive the Batman's parents getting shot before you can be Batman. I'm just like, guys, stop living in the past. Don't worry about it.
Batman origin stories. 8, false premise hater. Yeah, sure. Game works well for picking up low self-esteem bar skanks or ratchet 304s on Fresh and Fit, right? A great deal of hate is fueled by false premises. Concocting convenient scenarios, imagining the worst of your enemies, and reinterpreting their successes are a salve for the burned ego. Newsflash, your thin-skinned indignation is not my moral crisis. This is probably my favorite one of this list right here.
I like it. It's good.
It's always straw. Could really be straw hate. It's concocting convenient scenarios or trying to find, not all women are like that. Not all those women are from Brickell, or they're just hand selecting them. So it's like, no, the reason why you think that is because you have some moral imperative that wants to sort this stuff out for you, because you can't think of anything else, any other reason why it should or should not be. Okay. Number 9, lifestyle critique hate. You live an empty existence if all you do is have one night stands with sluts. Some people imagine that because I write about seducing women, that must mean I strictly counsel avoiding long-term loving relationships in favor of purely physical short-term flings. These people are wrong, but they know that. Of course, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with the occasional no muss, no fuss, empty sexual encounter. Okay? So again, it's trying to say, well, it's qualifying your quote unquote observations, your red pill, what is it? Men should cheat, right? Same shit. Number 10, gay love for John Wayne hate. If you're not a leader of men, you're not an alpha. I'm sure every male celebrity and emo punk singer drowning in pussy is crying bitter tears that he does not have the alpha imprimatur of real men of stoicism bootlickers like yourself. So once again, not all alphas are John Wayne. Not all alphas are leaders of industry. Their prisons are full of alpha males, just as your church leaders or the guy who coaches your little league team. He might be alpha too. It's just the context of how they manifest that.
This one's my favorite, by the way.
That one?
The one you're about to read.
Rape hate, and I will say it for this one. Hater, rape, rapity, rape. When all you have is a desiccated, dusty muff, the whole world looks like an unwelcome phallus. I will leave that. I think that one speaks for itself. Okay. Yeah. Number 12, fallacy of misdirected hate, obsession hate. This is a good one. A guy who spends his life obsessing over how to get women is a loser. A guy, and then of course he goes and lists this. A guy who spends his life obsessing over climbing the corporate ladder to get more attention from women is a loser. A guy who spends his life obsessing over mastering guitar and playing in a rock band to get more attention from women is a loser. A guy who spends his life obsessing over pursuing financial rewards and acquiring resources to get more attention from women is a loser. A guy who, you get the point. Okay. So it's all that right there is why I wrote Crisis of Motive back in the day. It's like, why do you do what you do? Like anybody can make a point and say, well, the only reason you do this is because you're trying to get pussy. By the way, that's the most common form of hate from black pill MGTOW doomers. You're only doing this because you want attention from women. You can go and wipe your ass and they'll find some way to say, well, the only reason you're wiping your ass is because you want to smell better for women. Like that. Seriously, that's the level of obsessive literalism that you'll get. Number 13, fallacy of the natural hater. Naturals, natural alphas, get women because they aren't trying to get them. After many years of practice, I'm sure it looked like Beethoven wasn't trying when he played the piano. Make it look easy, right? Or a natural is simply a man whose game is internalized, but the tactics remain the same. This is the hate that you're going to get for the guy who's like Justin Waller, right? He still had to learn those skills. He just learned them quicker and sooner than you because he had an advantage over you. Mm-hmm. 14, just be yourself, hater. Game is fake. Game is no less fake than any other self-improvement pursuit to which a man might set himself in order to move upward from his natural inertial state. Right? So that one I think is the most damaging form of hate because what it does is it says, guys, give up. Don't try anything. Right? Victimology hate. Hater, you're using game to manipulate women and control their minds. I just saw this thrown at Fresh and Fit on Flagrant 2. It's exactly the same shit. Okay.
Those sons of bitches.
Yes. In other news, losing 20 pounds was discovered to grant formerly chubby girls strange hypnotic powers over the minds of men. Feeling manipulated, men took to the streets en masse to demand relief from their attraction to these newly slender girls. That sarcasm there is to say that it's not so much about the control. It's like if a woman wants to lose weight to be more attractive, is that manipulation of guys, right? If a guy goes into the gym and he gets built, is that manipulation? Because you could make a case for anything.
I say it is. I say it's all manipulation. People just add it as a pejorative for some stupid reason.
And what were you saying? Here, let me finish. This is the last. Yeah. This is my problem. Well, these are probably my favorite ones. Dancing monkey hate. By the way, Coach Greg Adams, your dancing monkey stuff comes right from this one. Men who run game are just doing the bidding of women. Alphas don't entertain women. Now, if you want success with women, this is a good one. If you want success with women, you're going to have to entertain them one way or another. The same is true of women. Once a woman stops entertaining men with her body, her femininity, and her commitment worthiness by getting fat, old, ugly, bitchy, or single mommy, she stops having success with men. We are all doing the bidding of our biomechanical overlord, and on our knees to his will, we will surrender by force or by choice. You fool yourself if you believe you have some plenary indulgence from this stark reality. Or if you can't beat them, join them. So again, it's this idea of crisis of motive. Why do you do what you do? And are you doing work? Because any hater can make up anything. It says the reason why you have long hair and you still play a band role is because you secretly want to go and entertain women. You want to fuck women. And I'll be like, no, because I've been with the same woman for 26 years, but you can still make any case for anything. You drive a Toyota Tacoma because you want women to think that you're a tough guy and you drive a truck, right? You have a Greyhound because that makes you look better because anything.
That one's true.
It's it does. Unfalsified. It's a logical fallacy. It's the unfalsifiability fallacy. All right. Last but not least, voyeur hate. Hater. You're lying about the women you've had. Where are the photos? And we know who gives us this shit all the time. Show us the receipts. Remember, this is 2010. Okay. Written over the course of like 3 years, like collecting all of these things. So you could make the case that this is about 15 years old. Okay. Where are the receipts essentially is what it is. I remember having a conversation with a buddy about this where he mused aloud about what delicious fun it would be if I went nuclear and posted on this blog erotic JPEGs of the women I've been with. Hi, blogger chicks. Over the past 3 years, accepting those lovely ladies whose privacy I value more than the others, just to enjoy the exquisite paroxysms of cognitive dissonance that would rattle the souls of the haters who have spent so much mental energy comforting themselves with caricatures of me. He said not to bother. He explained that I could have my pics of me facializing a slew of cuties, and the haters would still find some excuse for not believing their own eyes. In other words, haters gonna hate, let them stew. And I like that one because it kind of comes back to the fact that even if you have the receipts, guys are still gonna make up whatever the fuck they're gonna make up. So if you could go and show yourself having an orgy with 10 beautiful women from a bikini,
and they'll call them all fours,
and they'll say you paid all those girls. Or you know, that's not real, or that's what is it? That's a deep fake. Put your face on the porn star's face, right? They'll find some way to disbelieve it. So, you know, you don't get out of those situations. So let's see, what are we at? We're at 250 right now. Do you got time for one more video? It's pretty short.
What the hey? As long as the guy makes the point in the first 10 minutes of it.
Yeah, he probably won't. But at least AMS is in this one here.
The reason I was bringing that up is that sometimes I think what men do wrong is they take women and make them one person.
Right.
Like every woman is vindictive. Right. Every woman's gonna do this. Every woman's gonna do that. When that's not the case.
That's not true. Yeah.
And that's one of my pushbacks. Right. I'm not saying these women are angels, but I'm not saying they're devils. I'm saying there's a spectrum in between. Right. And my biggest thing with so many men is that they want to paint women to be one person when it's like there's a lot of different kinds of girls.
Right. When you see the red pill try to paint women one way, that just comes from the hypergamy nature, and that's in all women. That is in all women. At some point in her, it's hypergamy. You can have a girl that genuinely love you, right? Genuinely love you, but if you fall on hard times, if you stay on hard times long enough, I'm talking about nothing about you changes, you're gonna lose that woman. Now, I'm not saying she's gonna be gone tomorrow, but let's just say you go through a rough patch for a year, and it can happen. I done been through it. God knows I have. Yeah. You probably gonna lose that woman. Now, let's say you meet a woman while you broke and she likes you. You know what? You better be working on something. She'll go with that. I met women while I broke, but you better damn well be working on something, improving yourself. If you think a woman finna sit there with you forever making $15 an hour, she'll build with you if you're working on something. But I'm telling you that love is gonna run thin. From what I've seen with women, at some point, hypergamy kicks in. Now, do you have different personalities and all that type of stuff? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But from my life experiences, at some point, hypergamy always comes in. And a lot of guys don't want to face that fact. But that's from my life experience, from what I've seen. For the fact that most divorces end due to money should prove that fact alone.
So I like where you're going, AMS. And to me,
he's got to accept it.
I somewhat agree to the hypergamy point. And to me, it's a human nature, female nature conversation.
Right.
We all know that
halfway.
women value these things. And to me, the myth is that love is unconditional.
No.
That's a fairy tale myth.
That's a fairy tale
But what
myth.
I realized is love is conditional on both sides.
Right.
It should be, right? If you helped me out, AMS,
right,
and you saw I was lazy and I wasn't growing my YouTube channel,
right,
and I was, doing disrespectful things about you, saying disrespectful things about you behind your back,
right,
would you be here right now?
Right.
No, because there's a condition.
Right.
Because I put in the work, because I'm listening to you, because I'm respectful to you, because I'm doing X, Y, and Z for you.
Right.
Therefore, you're gonna come back on the show.
Right.
So me, when it comes to women, dudes want to live in this fairy tale land where it's like, no matter what, I want a woman, no matter what I do, she's with me. I'm like, bro, that's stupid. Because there's nowhere in life besides maybe your mom.
Right.
Because even dad is like, you ain't my son if you do that. And one last thing before I let you do it, but it's the same as men.
Right.
If you're with a girl and she was fit, that she gained 100 pounds, you still with her?
Right.
Hell no, you throwing her at the AMS and throwing her to the side of the road.
Right, exactly.
And so to me,
yeah, except you're married to her now, and there's a lot of downstream effects from doing that. But
dude, that was brilliant. Sorry, do you see that? Like, yeah, it's not like this. And AMS is like, yeah, it's like this. He goes, okay, so it's like this, but
no, it's like this. Okay.
I agree with that, but a man like you and I, we're on our purpose 24/7. We're always growing. That's who we are. And so that's why I think that conversation might be, it's true, but for certain kind of guys, it doesn't apply to, because no matter if I lost all my money, I'm always going to be grinding, hungry, building it back up, because this is the mentality and mindset that I currently have.
Right. And the point is, with the red pill and hypergamy, the reason it stings so bad is because I think women kind of understand at an early age, boys are very sexual, whatever. Men don't understand that at a very early age about women, all women. We kind of saw the gold diggers in high school, and they only dealt with the dope boys and stuff like that. We all saw that. But you always think it's different.
Ooh, I saw some pain behind that smile.
You just think, okay, those gold digging heifers, but these are the good girls. And then you find out too that, damn, she's hypergamous too, just on a different level. And so that's where the resentment towards female nature comes in, because guys don't know that part of it. And this is another thing about the difference in why it's an issue. The money is external, the body is you, right? So the money, for all intents and purposes, no matter what you do, you could just fall, right? You could just go through a rough patch. You can figure it out, but you might not figure it out in 2 months. It might take you a minute. So let's hypothetically say you lost everything today. IRS said, Joker, we found out you owe us $12 million. Give us everything. Now, I do believe you will build, but will your woman stick around long enough for you to rebuild that? Because it's not going to be no overnight. See, you did not get there from a year's worth of work. It's taking. See,
what he's trying to explain to Huffies in so many words is guys get zeroed out. You could just simply go, hey, you know what? You should read this chapter in book 4 called Zeroed Out. Maybe that would probably help you out a little bit more. Because that's essentially what he's talking about. And I do agree with AMS. He's at least he's on top of his game, and he's trying to express this in terms of like that Huffies can understand. But that's really what
not working.
It's really tough, right? But
I gotta lie though, I was like, I don't ever like when brands call themselves alpha on that, but I'm kind of like, he's switched on. I gotta give him some credit. AMS
has been he's been really, I think he's a little bit more
mature.
Learned. Yeah. Well, he reads the stuff. He sticks around with it. It's not just like I'm just going to go and make the most outrageous channel I possibly can. He's been around. I think he's been around longer than Kevin Samuels has. But and now he's fine. He went on Fresh and Fit. He's beginning to make the rounds, and I'd really like to get him on this show actually. But again, trying to explain the red pill to a guy like Hafiz from this perspective. Like, and you're right, Hafiz has no other choice but to nod his head and go, wait a minute, yeah, I guess we're right. You know, like, even though if I was on there and said the same thing, he'd been all up my ass, right?
Yeah.
But if AMS is sitting across from him, then suddenly, like, or
it's because AMS has the audience he wants.
Well, yeah, that's true, but it's also like, it's the Andrew Tate effect, right? Ruslan and the rest of these guys, the quote unquote red pill moralists, those guys, they love them some Tate because Tate's on top of his game right now and you can't avoid him and he's making a lot of money. So therefore he must be right. And so therefore they're like, oh, they'll disagree with me. The same words could come out of Tate's mouth that come out of my mouth, and they'll tell me I'm the devil himself. And then when it comes out of Tate, they'll be like, well, yeah, I think maybe you're right. Same thing with
a flimsy worldview, how quickly it switches, huh?
Yeah, it falls. It's a house of cards, man. It just falls apart as soon as they do that. And then what kills me is how fluidly they just go, yeah, it goes from this to this very, very quickly. So let me keep going here. This is a really good segment.
So would your woman be willing to go through that whole grind again for you to rebuild? Because sometimes when we get to the top and we making money, we forget, damn, I've been grinding for 10 years. Yeah. And we just think like, if I just snap my fingers, that's the issue that I do believe you will rebuild. But how long? Will your woman stick around while you rebuild?
And I think, to me, there's a spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh, just dance around that answer.
Video because you made that video way back in the day. Mm-hmm. Because your point was, you're not saying that they're gonna leave tomorrow,
right?
Like AMS, like, oh, you deleted my channel. Then all the girls packing up their
right,
they leaving the house,
right?
You're not saying that,
no,
right?
No.
But it gets to a point where if you haven't gotten back to where you are at,
right,
potentially she is going to leave.
Not potentially.
Not, yeah.
And he said, AMS said she's going to leave.
She's going to leave.
And so,
not potentially. Thank you. This is why I like AMS, because he just puts a freaking period at the end of that sentence for him. Because it's like, here's what gets me, right? They're talking about getting zeroed out. And I've done it on this show. I've done it in my books. I've done it in essays. I have banged the gong about male suicide for a very long time.
And he's smart because he does it without jargon too. So he puts it in plain language. There's no misunderstanding.
Exactly. And this is why I love me some AMS, because it's like, no. And it's, you look at the divorce to suicide statistics for guys today. That's why this is fucking important. That's why guys like Hafiz need to be taken to the fucking woodshed over this stuff, because you're talking about guys' lives at this point. Right. Oh, well, these guys think that all women are evil and all women are like this and blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, you can point that out. And maybe you might have a case for guys in the black pill, the doomer community. But the red pill reality of this is that when guys get zeroed out, that's when you get deaths of despair. You get suicides of despair. And it is very trackable. You can, and by the way, if it were women who were the ones killing themselves at anywhere between 3.5 to 5 times the rate of men, trust me, there would be a full month dedicated to Women's Suicide Awareness Month, guaranteed. So when we're talking about this kind of stuff, by the way, this is why people say, why do you debate Russo? Why do you even give two shits about Hafiz? Why do you give two shits? In
fairness, that is me asking you why you do this.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, and I regret it every time. How come you won't debate Alex from playing with fire? Because it distracts from fucking important shit like this. That's why, right? I don't want people to like go, oh, well, Rollo said this or said that, and now that's the gospel because some retard says that's what I said to boost their channel, when in fact what I'm saying is absolutely different from what they're talking about, because I'm trying to help guys like keep the noose off their necks or the gun out of their mouths, right? So when if I get like heated because of this, that's why. It's not because I think they're actually trying to kill these dudes. They don't realize what they're talking about. They're trying to turn a buck. They're trying to get more eyes on the screen, more subs, more whatever, more engagement. Meanwhile, we're having conversations like this, and I'm glad AMS is checking this guy, because if he doesn't, then guys go, well, I don't know about that red pill stuff. I'll just, hope for the best. And I'm, getting zeroed out and I'm going through a divorce. I lost my kids. You look at the reasons why guys commit suicide. It's exactly, because they get zeroed out. Now, is it because of a woman? I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that because they get to a point where they have to rebuild, they're faced with a question. It's, do I have the energy and the effort and the perseverance to build myself over again from scratch, even though I've lost everything? Or do I just delete myself? Unfortunately, most guys delete themselves. And you know what? Yeah. No one cares. No one gives two shits about those guys when they do.
Oh, dude, how many stories? I don't know if you remember this. There was tons of stories back in the day from this where guys would zero themselves out. One guy, he was from the married red pill. He's like, my brother had this zeroing out moment. He offed himself in the house that he got kicked out of in front of the wife, and the wife just used that to milk sympathy from everybody else. When he literally walked up and said, "You did this to me."
Yes,
she still came out ahead of it.
Exactly. Your catalyst of whatever it is you did that prompted his suicide. Now you're using it for your own sympathy and your own benefit. That
was him trying to hold that bitch accountable.
Yeah. Well, so I in a way, I understand where Hafiz is coming from with this, because it's like I've written several essays about how hypergamy is not a straitjacket, right? And if you're going to say that, oh, this is what the red pill says, that all women are alike, right? No, it's not. And if you're mischaracterizing it like that, they're not going to find it and say, you know what, maybe I can use this knowledge to change my life because I've been zeroed out. And AMS is actually trying to check him on this, which I think is pretty good. So let me get this
guy coming on that thing dressed like a pool table. What the hell's wrong with
him? What I've said is that there is a spectrum between that, right? Okay. Some girls, it may be 3 months. Right. Some girls, it may be 3 years. Right. There's a spectrum. Right. Because at the end of the day, nobody is no human being for the most part. Right. Maybe there might be some women. Right. Who
cannot commit to saying anything.
Going to suffer with somebody forever. Right. There's not many people besides your family who's going to do that.
It's not the money per se. It's not the money. The money is the underlying root. It's the stress the lack of money causes. Now it's tension and we're having petty arguments, but the underlying factor is the money, the financial stress that we're not doing that and we're struggling to pay bills, this and other. That causes little petty arguments. And now, so the woman doesn't necessarily look and say, oh, the money's gone, he's not rebuilding. It's now I'm stressed about money, so now I'm picking at him, what that bag's doing there, why this is not up, why this is not clean.
I agree.
And now we're having petty arguments.
So the way I look at it is this. I look at it like, what did she sign up for and what did you sign up for?
Right.
Me?
So you're admitting then that women marry a lifestyle and they don't marry a guy. Right? Would that be accurate, Hafiz? Because I've said that a million times.
It's a spectrum, Rollo. Some girls would say, but maybe, and then
maybe I'm in the natural world and not in the metaphysical world. Like maybe we need to find a way to get to the metaphysical world, Ryan, so we can help us understand this.
It's just crazy watching him work out his marketing plan in real time and then change it on the fly like that. That takes real skill.
Yeah.
Real skill.
Let's say a man said, I signed up for you to have sex, right, be kind, right, and to be supportive, right?
Right.
She said, I signed up for you to protect, provide, and lead.
Right.
So I look at it like whenever one party drops the ball, right, now it's like I bought this car and now the car broke down.
Right. Yes. But only one party is protected by the state, Hafiz. Only one party gets to enforce that, their terms, and the other
car is like licking ice cream.
Get to enforce those terms.
These bitches keep driving all these cars to the ice cream store to lick ice cream, and it's just not fair.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the deal: you're not supposed to think about that guy who's been licking your ice cream for so long.
Jeez.
So that's when you're like, bro, I'm not gonna drive it no more. Why am I gonna drive this broke down car? So if you're a guy, let's say AMS got 4 girls. All these are his chicks. He's having a good time. One of them is like, well, you know what? I don't want to have sex anymore.
Right.
You got with her to have a sexual partner.
Right.
Now she no longer wants to do her job. So what's going to happen is after a period of time, she's going to go. So I look at it like if you are a guy and you can, I don't believe, this is my opinion, I don't believe you or me or any guy who's really about it will ever be without for long.
Right.
I believe I can take every penny away from you right now, and I believe in 2 months, 3 months, you're going to have something enough back. Right. Because of how your mindset is. Right. So I believe that if you are a guy and you stop doing that job, best believe she's going to leave.
Right. The thing with the women, and you keep...
yeah, except that the marriage contract that you are in and you are very promotional about, it does not ensure that on your side of the bargain there.
Yeah. Okay, so I get it. So not all women are like that, but they are, but it's on a spectrum. And sometimes they will and sometimes they won't, but it depends on the timeline, because you have a car and ice cream, but sometimes they will. But not all women are like that. What I'm trying to say is, fuck.
I'm saying is that's a choice. So if a woman gains weight, that's a choice. If a woman don't want to have sex with you, that's a choice. If for whatever reason YouTube, your business or something say your health, whatever the case may be, to where it's out of your control. Like Hafiz is busting his ass, but you know how business it is, man. Things happen. YouTube blacklist you, whatever the case may be, right? And things slow down, right? Your business, you got the staffing agency, and you lose a major contract, and your income drops exponentially. But that's out of your control. Yeah. The weight loss and sex, that's why it's different with the sex and the weight loss, because that's a decision you're making to handle things. With the money aspect, I'm a big CEO. I'm not a big CEO. I'm a big guy. I work at a cubicle job, make 125 grand a year. I get laid off. Can't just go out and just replace that job in 2 or 3 months. I probably replace it, but I might just can't go back out and replace that salary right now. I might have to go work for 75 for a while. I need that woman that, even though I can't afford those trips no more, I need you to work with me. And from what I've seen is, when there's a downgrade in lifestyle from the woman, there's an issue. That's all I'm saying.
I see it. To me, I see it when the lifestyle is the culture that's set.
Okay.
So if you're a guy and you met her making $1 million, and you were flying her out on the private jets, and you were buying her the purses, and
it's your fault you got laid off because you said her expectations too high. I get it.
That lifestyle goes away. Now the main reason she was there was because of the lifestyle. Going back to the deal.
That's totally different.
No, totally different.
That's totally different. I'm explaining. Because now this is a transactional relationship.
I'm not saying that, AMS.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that, like you said, there's a certain level of provision as a man that women like.
Okay.
Some women want $50,000 worth of provision.
Okay.
Some women want $200,000. Some women want $1 million. Whatever you show her.
Hafiz, answer this question. What do women really want? You know what the answer is? More.
Yeah.
Always more.
Her and agree to it. It's just part of human nature.
Right.
The moment if you promise her this middle class life, but then now all of a sudden you want to be a $30,000 a year janitor.
Right.
You promise one thing and
wanted to be laid off.
And so in that situation, I'm saying.
I agree. I agree with that.
And that's my point is that the losing the job isn't the choice. You're 100% right. It's not the choice. But I cannot, because I've seen it happen in many of my families, my friends' families. I cannot see a man who loses his job and he's a really ambitious, driven, purposeful man. I don't see that man be unemployed for 6 months. I see that, like my dad would always say, if I didn't have a job, I would be out 18 hours a day looking for a job. I wouldn't even come home until I find a job.
Can you pause this guy for a sec? Dude. I don't even have to go that far back. 2008, how many guys that did great jobs in construction just got decimated, and those jobs never came back? How many of those guys committed suicide? Let's even go a little further. What about NAFTA in the softwood lumber industry in Canada? I watched my town get decimated. There was no jobs to return to. It didn't matter how ambitious you were, and the Angels rolled in with cocaine. How about a little further back? The Rust Bucket, or the Rust Belt. What happened when those manufacturing jobs went shipped off to Mexico and to China, and all those guys lost their jobs, even though they were really good and ambitious, and they never came back? This guy, how old is he? He's got to be like 20 or something.
No, Hafiz is like 31, 30.
Dude, he's old enough to know fucking better.
He might be older. He might be 32 now. But
he's old enough to know better.
Like last year, I think, and he was very proudly like, I know he got laid at some point, but he's very withholding sex and
benefit of the doubt on that one.
Yeah, I mean, some people were saying he was a virgin until he's like 29. I don't know for sure that that's the case. People have sent me videos about like sort of his background and everything.
Well, if he's a virgin, why isn't he smarter? Don't they study when they're not getting laid?
I know, right? Where does all that energy go? You don't even have to go back as far as 2007. All I have to do is show you the studies and you don't even have to get laid off. You can have maintain the same job, and your wife gets a promotion at work and she makes more money than you, and she gets into a higher status position. You're probably going to get divorced. It's not that's the numbers. I just work here, man. I'm sorry to bring you back.
Well, when you make your relationship dependent on your paycheck, then yeah, you live and die by the paycheck.
Yes.
And that's weird because that's so out of your control. You're absolutely right.
Okay, show you. I have all the Twitter research I can show. Like, you want data sets? I can give you data sets for that. When a couple is making the same, or like, especially if the guy is making more, and then suddenly the woman makes more money and she gets a promotion and she's out there, she's going to be deferring to the authority of guys who are like high-powered executives all day, and she's supposed to come home and defer to your authority, even though you make probably like, $50,000 less than she does now. That's going to change your relationship dynamics, because that's how women work.
It only does if you make the economic factor the method of dominance in the relationship. Good example, my best buddy, guy I sailed with. He earns good. His wife dominates that twice as much as him, and he's in the 6-figure range. Never had any issues at home because he doesn't make the paycheck the reason that he's the dominant one in the relationship. He does all those I want a man stuff. He's got that shit down.
Yeah. I was going to say, there are the reason why, this is me talking, this is my theory and this is my opinion. The reason why women, when they make more money, it precipitates divorce, is because most men's marriages are based on the transaction. They're based on that dynamic. The guy who makes the most money, whoever makes the most money in the family, makes the rules.
And it's not just you. That is Red Pill. Ian Ironwood, Praxeology of the Dominant Male, a great article. He describes exactly that mindset. Because a lot of people were thinking this, you just want your women barefoot and pregnant in the home. It's like, no. Most homes are 2-income families. 40% of women out-earn their men. This is a trend that's not going away, and so how do you deal with it? So we know that, yes, male-dominant relationships are the ones that tend to last and that tend to be the best. So we're going to stick with that. So what do you do when she earns more money? Disregard economic input.
Yeah.
As soon as you come through there, the only thing that matters is you as a man and her as a woman.
Money, muscles, and game. And when she makes more money than you, you've got to emphasize another part of that, right? Of that trifecta right there. And by the way, there's synergies between all three of those. When, and you're exactly right. Now, I'll tell you why I follow that, is because I have known guys when I lived up in Tahoe, when I lived up in Northern California, like there's all these guys who would get with girlfriends. Like the joke was this, right? What do you call a snowboarder without a girlfriend? Homeless. Because what was going on at that time was that, like, these guys would be lifties, or they'd be like snowboarders. They were like transient workforce that would go through Tahoe for like the ski seasons and everything. And they would find a girlfriend, and the girls made way more money than the lifties did, or the guys who are just, want to be professional snowboarders or whatever, or a musician. You could say the same thing about me. What do you call a bass player without a girlfriend? Homeless. The same. It's the same thing. But the reason why it's funny is because women who make a lot of money, way more than the guy, there has to be something that offsets the fact that the guy doesn't have status, unless he's a rock star, right? He's an up and coming rock star. Doesn't have the money, but he's got to be hot. Okay, like that girl's not going to get with, like, most of the time, like women.
Well, not just hot, pre-selection too, like status.
Yes. Well, when you see a hot chick, or a sort of like maybe a plain Jane chick, like a wallflower chick, or a semi chubby chick, and she's with a hot guy, it's usually because the guy doesn't have that much money. It's usually because he's broke. It's usually because he's a snowboarder, right? Or he's a musician, he's a struggling musician, and he's with her because, for no other reason than the fact that he needs a fucking couch to sleep on or whatever else, right? And you'll be like, well, why would that? He's probably cheating on her anyways, and usually they'll put up with that shit, right? Because
a man should cheat. Oh no,
right? But the dynamic is that he excels in muscles, right, in the physique side of things, maybe the game side as well too, but he is completely deficient in the money side. She, on the other hand, has a good chunk of change, and she doesn't need a man, but she wants a man. Who does she want? The hot snowboarder guy, the guy that come and sleep with her and just live with her and pretend that he would be into her for any other reason, right?
The ones that all of her friends would take from her in a heartbeat if she let him go.
Yeah. And so there's that sort of paradox between, like, making a lot of money, that having that affluence and status and everything else. And when women get into long-term relationships, they're definitely looking for the guy who has something that's above. They're looking for the guy who's the 6-pack, the 6-figure income, 6 feet tall. He's got to be interested. You got to be provisioning, protection, and parental investment. There's the laundry list of things when it comes to that. But in the meantime, the homeless snowboarder, as long as he's hot and he fucks real good and he lays down the dick right, then she's okay with that because she's making more money than him. So take it now. Let's extrapolate this into the marriage where they were both making the same amount, or maybe he was making a little more and she gets a promotion. She's making a lot more. That guy, if he wants to avoid divorce, and if their relationship isn't founded on the transactional nature, that guy needs to up the muscles and the game side of it right there. If he's not able to like sort of bring himself up, so it's not even just like losing a job. That's what they're saying. Well, you lose a job, the clock is ticking. That's like a Chris Rock routine.
No, it's about
right?
your loss of what the other person values in the relationship.
Yeah. So, and especially if that relationship is felt like, say, for instance, the woman is like the girl, like married Cornell, right? Mm-hmm. And Cornell loses his job. Who's she going to be pining for after 6 months? Get a guy at the petrol station, or she's going to be pining for somebody like that, because now what made him attractive, what made him a good long-term prospect is gone. And she can provide her own security. So what is that girl going to be looking for? Is she going to be looking for another Cornell, or is she going to be looking for the hot guy in the foam cannon party? So,
I love Debbie's so switched on.
Yeah, this is almost done. I want to see what else they're going to say right quick here.
Now, finding a job ain't the issue. I give you that. You got to find an income. So like when I was working at the cone company, making the cones in Alabama, I got fired from that job. And all the jobs who I was going up to the other jobs were paying like half of that. Yeah. So the point, I got another job, but I couldn't. So you might have a guy who's making 125, lose that job, and he go get a job making a 70. He's not a bum sitting on the couch playing video games, feeling sorry for himself. He wouldn't have got another job, but maybe he had an extraordinary job with an extraordinary salary that he worked his way up for 10 years, and now you at another company, you ain't fool.
My question is, in your opinion, all feelings, no facts, we're all just guessing here.
Right.
If a guy like that was making 120, he loses a job and he's making 70, how many percentage of women would you say are leaving him? Would you say it's all 100% of women would leave him with dropping from 120 to 70?
You talking about how in what period of time?
Let's say
because this is how it works. You have the sexual market value place, right? Mm-hmm. That woman who's at 120, she got that 120 because that's what her sexual market value determines, right? Her sexual market value is higher than 70. If that's what she was at, she would have already had that. She got the 120 because that's what her sexual market value determines she got. So if she go get with a guy that's now making 70, if you talking about for a short period of time, fine. She's not. The arguments are not going to build up to leave in 2 or 3 months. But 6 months, 7 months, you making that, and now it's a lifestyle grade when she knows, hey, my sexual market value determines that I get 120. I've always gotten 120, and I'm not taking a back seat because I got guys who are hitting on me now, and they make 120 and more. So why would I take that back seat for the 70? And so what the issue is, that woman's sexual market value determines what she feels like she's entitled to. And so that's the issue. If she got 120 from you, then she probably in her head feel like, and that's a big downgrade in lifestyle, because that $50,000, that's a lot of experiences in traveling that go up in that 50. So our lifestyle is finna take a big hit.
And in my opinion, I think it goes back to the man and the discernment. Mm-hmm. If you, because I don't believe things are just that simple. There's we make it, it's about money, but there's more than just money. Right? There's so many layers to what.
Oh, absolutely.
Nuance.
Listen,
absolutely. That's what I'm saying. So
a guy who makes nothing could take that woman from you if he catch her in the right headspace, and he makes 30. And so that's what I'm saying. So there's a lot of variables in there.
That's what I'm saying. There's so many variables. So guys make it where it's only money.
No.
If I go from 100 to 90, she left me. It's not
as
simple.
What was the thing you said about you can't use metaphors, Rollo?
The only reason she's with you is because of money.
Right.
She can go from 100 to 70.
Right.
But if she's with you for deeper reasons besides the money, and she really sees you as an ambitious, driven, passionate guy, she knows you're not happy making 60. She knows that. She knows you want to get back to 120 more than she does. And so to me, I think what happens is you as a man got to know who you are, and you got to know who that woman is, because I really believe a lot of men, when they get down, they stay down.
There we go. All right. That's enough of that. Thank you very much, Hafiz. Now,
I hate that pool table of a man. Oh, he's killing me.
But so here's the thing is, you'll notice that, and I mean, AMS was working with what he had, but you'll notice that Hafiz makes it all about the beta buck side of hypergamy.
Yeah.
Right. It's all about,
until it put him in a corner. Then he started making up ethereal mindset crap.
It's about deeper things than just money. Yeah. Like alpha fucks. You're right. And you don't want to talk about that. And that's the biggest problem I have with guys like Hafiz and even Jordan Peterson and the rest of these guys is I would even put Dr. David Buss in the same thing. Is they only want to talk about long-term relationships. They only want to talk about, family formation. They only want to talk about financial, responsibilities of the guy to take care of the family. They only want to talk about one side of hypergamy. They only want to talk about beta bucks, provisioning, protection, and parental investment. They think
sitcom premises is all they want to talk about.
That hypergamy is only defined by beta bucks, right? By that side. It's like, no, it's also defined by alpha fucks.
Yeah.
Tammy
MS even tried to meet him on that level, and he still dances in there.
Tammy Peterson lived with another dude for 2 years. So let's talk about alpha fucks too, okay? Like, there's a reason why she decided to marry Jordan right after she got out of the relationship with the guy that she'd been with for 2 years. Okay?
Yeah, and here, for the audience too, there's an easy way to understand this. Just think of luxury goods, right? I use soya beans. I love it because soy. Soya beans are what, like $2 a ton? They're like a commodity. They're a dime a dozen. They're everywhere. Girls can get them. You can get them. There's no value to them whatsoever. But you get edamame beans, which are just soya beans, but they sprinkle some salt and soya sauce on them. They charge $10 a plate. Now people like it. It's like a flex. It's a good thing. Instead of soya beans, think of that as like an analogy for men. If you're just the guy with the job, you're just the soya beans. You're a dime a dozen. There's always another guy earning 120,000, whatever. But you're branded well. Oh, your friends would love to go out and get on my edamame beans. I can't believe you can go out for dinner on a Tuesday. It's a social flex. It's like the branding thing is good. It's like you said, everybody's a brand now. They're the Louis Vuitton shoes. They're the Louboutins. They're the purse. That's kind of where guys are at now. If money's no longer the thing, you have to become a luxury good. And most guys don't want to be a luxury good because that takes effort. And it takes you changing the way you think about things. And people would rather just bitch about women.
They don't want to
pay
the
pool
game
table jacket.
I'm going to exit the game. Well, why do you want to do that? Because you can't play the game. Yeah. Because you don't want to.
That's the worst part, is that they could. How many black, with the exception of DDJ, every one of these black pill doomer types that you kind of find, you're like, dude, 3 months of working out, you'd be fine and wear a better shirt.
Yeah. You got to change your mind about yourself before you do that, though. You got to believe it's actually even possible. And that's really where most of those guys are at. But like when I see like people say, oh, you need to debate this guy or debate that guy, whatever. Whenever I'm looking at whenever I look at Hafiz, I'm like, what would the conversation even be? Because it'd probably be like, oh, we're going to put Rollo Tomassi on trial. Whereas it's like, no, I would want to talk about exactly why it is that you refuse to acknowledge that women have this alpha fuck side of hypergamy and they want to get with the hot guy in the foam cannon party, and they break rules for alphas and they make rules for betas, and you are the beta that she made the rules for. Cornell is the beta that chick made the rules for, and the guy that she saw in the freaking petrol station was the guy that broke the rules, that he was the alpha that she would break rules for.
And why would you debate that guy? It's like he's like worse than an RSD live stream where you can talk for an hour and say nothing. Like, I don't got time to argue that. What do you even say? What do you even say? You didn't say anything to argue. It wasn't even wrong. It can't be wrong.
Yeah.
It's unfalsifiable gobbledygook.
It's unfalsifiable. Yeah. It's funny you should say that. Let me throw these up. Where did it go? Logical fallacies. Let's have a look.
Holy Reddit. Look at the list.
Yes, I love these. What is that? Is it begging the question? Circular argument, which can include the premise. No, but this is my favorite one, by the way, is tuquoque. I didn't even know there's a word for this. Avoiding having to engage with criticism by turning it back on the accuser. Answering criticism with criticism. That's pretty much what every hater of the red.
I was going to say.
That's
I call that the Rollo fallacy.
Well, the reason I brought that up is because we were looking at the unbearable triteness of hating, and we're going through the 17 different kinds of hate, right? All of those pretty much coincide with these logical fallacies right here. Like every last, even straw manning was one of those forms of hate, right? So they're just it's not that they're haters, they're just bad debaters. They have no idea that what a logical fallacy is.
Well, it's just sport. It's that postmodern thing. They don't want to argue. They don't want to debate. They don't want to learn ideas. They just want to have a little fist fight in the mud to see that they're a better person than you, so that way they can have the audience and then they can get paid.
Because it's about beliefs. Yeah.
Literally wearing a guy's desire to be better than he is as a skin suit in order to make money. It's really tasteless. It really is. And I know it's weird to hear me talk about guys on the red pill being tasteless, but they are.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is, I think a lot of people think that we have some sort of like, ideological purity, and we don't punch left and we don't criticize our own. It's like bullshit. I criticize my own all the time. I get my ass into trouble for doing that.
I haven't seen you wear a hat yet that I haven't made fun of.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't own a MAGA hat yet, so and I will wear it. I promise not to wear it in the shower.
Get one of them make women great again hats. That'd be awesome. Just for the irony of it.
Yeah. You the pink one or the red one? Let me finish these out here real quick. D Amazing, all your books absolutely changed my life, Rolo. Thank you. Quick question: are women only looking for beta traits while pregnant?
Amplified. Hugely amplified.
Yeah.
Guys figured that when they ran dread on their pregnant wives, and like the littlest bit of it, complete blowout moment. Yeah, they're on security alert. Their hormones are whacked.
They're nesting. They're in the nesting phase. Yeah, and so I would agree. Yeah, in the nesting phase for sure. Mark Martin, did anyone forget that Kim Kardashian, really named her son after Reggie Bush playing for the Saints? Really? I didn't know that. Oh my goodness. I didn't know
that either. Was that the one from the sex tape?
Which one?
How many sex tapes does Kim have?
I don't know. But I did not know that. But yeah,
no wonder why Kanye's so angry.
Right? Ryan, you mentioned Martin Luther saying it's okay to cheat. Where did you find that information?
I already put links in the chat for that. There was 3. Started with a blog, then it came on to like more of like a Christian dissertation, and then like an academic study. So you can grab whatever level of authority you want. Martin Luther said, if she's not putting out, you can F the maid after you put her on blast in front of the church.
From 198 to 809.
Nanoliters per deciliter to naturally it's possible.
Okay.
That's a big jump. 198 is like critically soy, and 809, that's like athletic.
My TRT is a squat rack. Thank you very much. Let's see. Technological chaos. Dude, you give me $10, but I've seen you give as much as 500 to Fresh and Fit. This would have all ended if the moralists with a stick up their ass could just admit they were just never that guy that got charms to disarm the ladies.
Gotta hold these moralists accountable.
More often too. Marriage causes divorce. If the birth marriage rates fall low enough, do you think marriage laws will be reformed? Good luck. No, because there's full industries that are built on. There's markets that are built on them. I.e., men getting a better percentage of the share of their assets, no alimony, child support, etc. When will red pill go mainstream? Aren't we now? Isn't this it?
How many people are in this live stream? Is this mainstream?
Is this not entertaining enough for you?
Yeah. The child support alimony thing, that's starting to change. Law is really slow. And it never was about law isn't necessarily on women's side over men. It's neutral. It's just that the decisions that men and women make favor women in these situations. So as guys stop making these classical, like these same choices that pool table boy is talking about, and make more practical choices, the law tends to skew more neutrally.
Right. And then I also should say this is like, because I hear this all the time. People say, you need to get a prenup. I got a prenup, so that's what saved my house. It's like, yeah, really? Go watch Divorce Incorporated before you form an opinion about prenups. Because if you watch, it's a documentary. I think it came out in like 2013, 2014. And it had, was it Dr. Drew Pinsky was like one of the guys, I think he narrated part of it, but he was also involved in it. And it goes from, it follows like the marriage industry, like Zales diamond rings, all the way up to like why people break up and then what happens in the divorce machine afterwards. And so it's like this, that's why I call it Divorce Incorporated. It's like this big churn machine and then guys get remarried and they start the shit all over again as well. So let's look at this. Polygamous societies are inherently unstable. Therefore, we deduce that unrestrained hypergamy will eventually destroy American societies. I would say that that's where we're headed. I think that the idea of polygamy, the reason why we're like playing around with ideas of polyamory or thruples or whatever the fuck we're calling it right now, the reason why that's popular is because it fits in with the idea that women are the ones who are sharing alpha males, right? And then, by the way, alimony is a holdover from the Depression era marriage laws. So especially today. So when we talk, like, alimony was always a thing, but like the reason why we think of alimony as we do right now is because it was the alimony that we know today was actually created during Depression era America, at least in the United States.
Interesting.
I'm autistic. It's no excuse to acting like a spurg. I agree.
Good man.
You know what? Here. You know what? You get one of. You're goddamn right. You get that. That was a good comment. Rich, have been with several 100 girls. So quadruple digits. I'm 28. Had 7-month plate who out of the blue started ghosting me and then sends me a cold text. We shouldn't hang out. Feel one-itis weirdly now. Advice. You just
not yours. It's just your turn, man.
Yeah, you're just your turn, and you want to go back to your sure thing. That's why. If you're spending with all these plates and everything, like I don't see why that's a big deal, right? But
that's natural. Everybody likes that. Like she doesn't leave me, I quit.
Oh,
but
she
left, so you want to get her back.
She sent a text not wanting to hang out after I called her out for disrespect in not responding. All right, so that's it. So it is on you.
Hey, there's where holding bitches accountable gets you.
See, this is why we need a complete picture before we start talking about shit.
I tried to control her, and she told me you can't control me, and then she left. Why? Don't confront
Rollo,
chicks. That's dumb.
Would you recommend Cubase 12?
What is that?
That's a recorder. It's a digital audio program. It's I use Logic, but CJ swears by Cubase. So it's got potato, whatever you're comfortable with. I think they're both pretty good, but I use Logic because I'm a Mac guy. So. And then last but not least, I got Jimmy and Dallas. They're based on the beta buck side of hypergamous equation. Yes. Thank you for pointing out what I pointed out. Right, we're done. This is good enough. Thanks for joining me today. I hope everybody learned something very fantastic about this. Sometimes I feel like I keep doing like the same shit over and over and over again because I keep doing the same shit over and over and over again. But when it comes to high value men are ruining women, this is not something that Hafiz figured out. This is not something that that is new to the manosphere. I've heard this a million times from like MRAs of all people. It's women will be better if men would be better, and it's like, no. At what point do you hold women responsible for their own actions? And I think we don't want to do that because we think of women as hypo agents, right? And what the hypo agency is it's the world happens to her instead of her happening to the world. And so we want to forgive that. That's one of the reasons why we say, oh, well, it can't be her. It can't be the woman, the poor vulnerable woman. It must be that evil ice cream licker who screwed her up and ruined my perfect soulmate for me, and now I have to untangle her head and like make her feel comfortable again and jump through all these hoops and obey the rules that she's making for me because the alpha that she broke the rules for ruined her life, and she's still pining for that guy in the petrol station. And that is a cop-out for the 80% of guys who simply cannot bring themselves to hold women accountable or to at least put them in a position of agency and hold them accountable for the choices and the decisions that they make themselves. So people tell me, Rollo, do you think we should repeal the 19th? What about your daughter? Don't you want the best for her and blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, you know what? I want my daughter to be able to vote. I want her to do whatever the fuck she wants to. But you know what I also tell her? She's responsible for the decisions that she makes. She's not going to wipe that off on me or on any man or a husband or whoever. She's not going to absolve herself of the decisions that she makes because she is her own. She either has moral agency or personal agency or life agency, or she doesn't. And if your thing is, oh, well, I'm going to blame it on these players. I'm going to blame it on Justin Waller for ruining my wife because now I got to jump through these hoops. You're not jumping through those hoops because somebody fucked her up. You're jumping through those hoops because you're the beta that she settled on. That's why. So
hurts. Need to hear it.
Yeah, exactly. Before you blame it on the minute, minuscule amount of guys that are out there who could pull that off in the first place, don't blame it on those guys. Blame yourself for being the beta that she says you need to jump through these hoops because you weren't as exciting as the hot guy in the foam cannon party I used to fuck when I was in college and I was drunk, he was cute, and one thing led to another. And I'm still thinking about him in the petrol station somewhere. So keep that in mind before you start blaming, the red pill for teaching these guys to be the top G's.
And wear a better jacket. That thing looked like a goddamn pool table.
I know. It's like Miami Vice, man. I think they are in Florida, actually. But, like, come on, man. Was it Crockett and Tubbs?
Fair.
You need a Patrick Nagel painting in the back, like, the Rio album for Duran Duran. In the back, when you have those going on. I'm like, damn, man. Anyways, Ryan, what do you have going on before I skedaddle?
Oh, two things. So, like, obviously, I got to get work on second book, so I'm editing a shit ton of videos to get them out. I've got like daily videos for the next 2 months. I'm almost ready. And on account of John Anthony Lifestyle, pickup artist extraordinaire, I have decided he did a 90 person watched his live stream where he brought Justin Waller's mom on there to talk shit about Justin. I'm going to beat him out with a Minecraft live stream bigger than his. So you guys are welcome to join on that one. I'll provide a link in the thing here. I'm going to build the John Anthony Lifestyle memorial. Rest in peace. Justin's going to kill him. You can come in and laugh it off. It's whatever.
That was a exceptionally bad move on his part.
And in honor, I have changed my Avi on Twitter to John Anthony Lifestyle Drunk at Denny's.
Drunk at Denny's, yeah. God,
asked how you would open the time when he was flirting around with the homeless dude.
Yeah, that's funny. I thought this is kind of ironic because somebody sent me these videos of like in Brazil how like there's these motorcycle gangs that will try to like hijack your truck.
Oh yeah.
If you're going slow on the streets and stuff, they'll pull up and they'll just put a gun up to your windshield and you got to get out and they hijack you or whatever. If they don't kill you, whatever. So now, like the government's saying, you can run these motherfuckers over if you want to. I was like, damn, a lot of really, really heavy, violent shit happens in Brazil. Just saying. People die and nobody actually recognizes it or cares that much. So just saying. Anyways, I am going to be in where am I going to be? I'm going to be Connecticut. I think Stafford or Hartford. I'm not really sure where the boys are at. I will be seeing Kevin Savo, Rocky Savo, Mark Savo, and probably Nikki Savo, and I think Torsha's out there too. So I'm going to be doing my midweek show from the Savo Studios in Naugatuck.
What are these names you're coming up with?
I don't know. It's Connecticut, man. So I'll be in Connecticut. How's that? I'll be in Connecticut and I'll be doing some video work and everything with these guys. I'll be there from tomorrow. I get in tomorrow. I'll be there till Friday. Then I'm back here. So I'll be back by the weekend. So it won't interfere with any of my schedules. And I'm doing, as I said, main reason I'm doing my making this trip is because I'm going out there to do some video work for an upcoming class that I'm working on that's going to be part of the player's handbook. So that's something to look forward to, and I'm sure we'll have some other drama going on. This week is going to be high drama. Just saying. I don't know what's not from me. I didn't do anything. My hands are clean on this one. This is great. So we're going to be doing that. And then again, we will also have Rule Zero on Saturday. I probably won't be hosting it. I forget who is, but that's coming up Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. If you missed yesterday's show, it's on Paul Benjamin's channel, and it was pretty darn good, if I do say so. So with that said, Ryan, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me
on. And
thanks for showing me this guy. He's been wonderful the whole time.
Isn't that great? I know. All right, I'm going to mute you. Because I go out like this now. Podcast has been a production of the Rational Male Registered Trademark 2022 and whatever Rian Stone's trademark is. Don't steal my stuff.